live, man. Hey, Sadiqa, I appreciate you. I really had no idea that y'all was waiting for me in there. I'd come in the chat, I said, damn, there's all these chats in this joint already. Make sure I hit the like button too. I appreciate that. Um, my daughter called me. She had a little incident with her son's father. So I said, all right, I got a grandson or whatever. So I had to give her some advice because I'm like, listen, you 22 now, but you got to learn. So I sat there talking to her for about an hour, and I didn't realize that y'all was already in the chat room because I never hit live, so I didn't know that you could see that I was going live yet because I never hit a button. But it gave y'all the signal, so I'm happy with that. He said, "Echo, you have an echo and static sound." Okay. What about now? What about now? Still any static now? Am I good? Oh, it went away. Okay, cool. Might have been, I don't know what it was. Maybe it's my earpieces. I don't really need those, but if it happens again, let me know. Appreciate that. But yeah, I had to give her some advice. So that's what was going on. Outside of that, everybody, shout out to the AKs that jumped in here early, and y'all really be holding it down. Y'all making me blush a little bit because that's crazy. I said, damn, they was sitting here for an hour just waiting for me. That's dope. That's dope. And that also means y'all ain't got shit to do like me, so y'all might need to find some new hobbies and shit. You know what I mean? But I'm still not going to look a gift horse in the mouth. I'm appreciative of it. See, and here you go with the good questions about Dexter Lawrence and all this other stuff, man. I'm going to say this first. Make sure everybody that's in here, you guys hit the like button. Share it. Do what you got to do. If you're not a member, become one because what I mean it's nice over here. But beyond that, I'm going to move the comments to the back end of the video so I can get through the main point of the video because I almost went into the Dexter Lawrence question, and I don't want to do that until I actually address what I came here to address. So, all right, shout out to the AKs. Appreciate y'all, but let me turn them comments. Well, I can see them, but I'm not staring at them. You know what I mean? So I can get through the points. But I think a lot of you, not just the Dexter Lawrence conversation, but just all in all, I think a lot of you already know why we're here because what's been happening and what keeps happening, it seems like people are not detaching from what they want and what the Cowboys are most likely to do, right? And I think you guys kind of see me do that real time. And I'm not saying people got to follow me in that regard. You don't. But I just see that other people are making that adjustment, which is kind of strange, right? Where there's a lot of different players, but you've seen the conversation where I think Vach and Broadus, they're onto something when they talk about Sonny Styles' floor, like where he is coming in. They're not wrong, right? When it comes to their grades and what they said about him, they're not wrong. But then I hear the other side of that coin who are judging him off of potential and scheme fit. I see the others that are arguing from that perspective go off and say, oh no, he's top 5, right? I saw the little Zach Wolchuk and Broadus exchange early in the week. You see Foots going crazy over Keldrick Falk, him and Law kind of going back and forth about that. And I think what's getting lost in translation when it comes to the players we want versus not only the scheme fit, but also the money. Like, where's the money in the building? What investments have they made heavily in what positions? What skill sets do those players have? And what are they likely looking for as a result of that? I don't think people are doing that before they say, who do I like for them? There's, sort of like a parent, like it ain't about who you would date. It's about who's right for your daughter, right? You know what I mean? Or who's right for your son. It ain't about what your preferences are. What does that person need? You know what I'm saying? What does this scheme need? Not who do we like the most? You know what I mean? And then we just want to plug and play them anywhere. You got to ask that and then look at it through a common sense lens. And I think if you do that, you get into a position where not only are you less emotional about what happened, but you're a lot less, you're a lot more accurate if that's what you're looking to be, whether you're a content creator, scout, or just a person at home. It doesn't matter. You want to be accurate when it comes to what the Cowboys are likely to do. Look at what they've already done. Look what they've historically done, and look at where the money is. And then look at scheme. What scheme do they have? And how do the players that we currently have fit or not, right? That'll tell you where they're likely to invest heavily based off of the things that they've already invested in or that they've neglected to invest in, right? So that's just my logic. I could be, a lot of people think I'm tripping about a lot of things I say, but I don't think I'm wrong. Make sure you guys are on top of the like button. There's 55 of y'all in here. Make sure you guys are liking, sharing, subscribing, put it on Twitter, do what you do. As a matter of fact, I'm going to do that with you real quick. Let me put this on Twitter too. How do I do that? I'll go over here first. Boom. And hit this. All right. Copy. And now let me put it on Twitter. Hold on a second, folks. I'll be having to do this too. I'll be sometimes forgetting, and that's a problem. All right. Now, there's a lot of things that you factor in, right? When it comes to what we currently have, and I'm not talking about just investments that you make in players, right? When you look at this team, we automatically know because of the exit of Eberflus and the investment we made in CP. Obviously, CP is an investment. He's the coach, right? But then the investments they made behind him to ensure that we can keep things going forward, even if he does take another job elsewhere, because he might be in high demand if he comes and turns his defense around, which I think he can, right? So you saw the investments that they made there. But when you look at guys like BT Jordan, when you look at guys like Marcus Dixon, I think that you've gotten a benefit of having this channel where we took a deep dive into those individuals and seeing exactly where they were, what type of effect and impact did they have over the last 4 years collectively, where both of those individuals were. Like they actually kind of, well, not flip-flop. One was in Denver. I think BT Jordan was in Denver the last 2 years. Dixon was in Denver the 2 years prior, right? When you look at Dixon, he was in Denver and then he went to Minnesota, right? Now, those two teams gave us problems. We already went through that. We looked at what they did to us last year, and that's kind of telling you why they're here, right? So when you look at the way they approach their game and you say, okay, let's start from the coaching perspective, which I think is wise. You look at what were they able to do and with whom. When you look at BT Jordan and you look at the types of players that he's developed, you got Max Crosby on that list. You got TJ Watt on that list. You got Rashawn Gary on that list. Right now, you've seen even just a few weeks what he's able to do with Arvell Reese. Arvell Reese is kind of like static and up high and couldn't bend very well when he first got there. He was working with Bailey. He's working with Reese. He's working with Styles. He's working with everybody, right? And that tells you something. Two things. One, my dog's barking. Well, one, it tells you, hey, these guys are getting a very close look at everybody that we're talking about drafting. So if anybody knows who they want and who they can work with, is BT Jordan, because he's the guy who's going to be teaching these guys, right? Whether they're here or not, they're going to seek out his tutelage, as you can see, to get an understanding for how to get an edge on this season as rookies. So the guys that actually dedicate themselves to come out here and deal with him already shows their character. And then he's spending very personal time with them that you don't get to spend usually with a player that you're about to draft. And he's doing that with all of them, right? So what that does for me, it gives you a higher level of trust, because that's the second end, right? He gets a close look at them. He gets to develop them prior to the draft. That's number two. So now they come in the door a little bit more prepared for what they'll have to deal with in the NFL. And he gets an understanding for their work ethic and so on, right? But that gives you more confidence in the draft, because now like, well, BT, you can reference. You didn't just see him at the combine. We didn't just talk to the scout who watched him from the sidelines and got an interview with him once or twice. We didn't just go through the Wonderlic score and say, how smart is the guy based off of these, survey questions that we gave him. We got a guy who just worked with him, right? How fast does he learn? Well, you can see how fast Arvell Reese learns, right? Why? Because it translated real fast, right? How fast did he pick up things? And then when he picks up those things, like, what is it that you can lean on him being good at versus this next guy? That's high level information and data that's invaluable to a war room, right? Invaluable. It's an advantage that the Cowboys now have. When you look at the scheme fit, you can clearly see Marcus Dixon. Hey, you took Van Ginkel and made him all pro. How the fuck did you do that? Why is it that he's able to do that? Well, what about your scheme makes it so that, what about your fronts makes it so that these guys have one way of playing? Like, no matter where you've gone, no matter how the personnel changes, no matter if there's, the first unit, second unit, third unit, they're all kind of doing the same things. What is it that you're doing? And what is it about your scheme that makes it so that not only do those guys up front instantly get an uptick, but the guys behind them, all the linebackers that ever played behind these fronts, why are they so good? You can see, right? Well, what type of linebackers do tell struggle in your scheme? Like, what type of linebackers do you need to play your scheme, right? And I do think almost any can play. Downhill backers are pretty good from what you see. Eric Wilson is more sideline. He's like universal, but he's just not a great linebacker, but he played pretty good behind the scheme. Blake Cashman, same thing. No one will say he's all world. Alex Singleton, same thing. Josie Jewell, I like a lot, but and he played well in the scheme too. So it's like, okay, what type of linebackers do you like? When you look at a guy like Josie Jewell, you say, oh, okay, he was very effective when he played with you in Denver, right? Before he left. Okay, what do you like about him? You probably would say he was a quarterback at one point. And he said, oh, well, those traits translated very well to the field. You can see it, right? Well, who else do we have in the draft that matches some of those traits? You would say, oh, J Rod is high on the list, probably because of those traits that you see translated very well with players that played in the past behind this front. That's just common sense. So does that mean Okoye's favorite player is J Rod? He actually is a linebacker, though. I'm not going to lie. He's my favorite linebacker. But if he wasn't, he would go higher up due to the fact that he has that type of knowledge and experience. Prior to, though, it was J Rod and CJ Allen because of the things that we had to do last year with shedding and things like that. We had issues, right? So it's like, okay, if you have issues shedding blocks, you don't want the guys like Hill Jr., Sonny Styles. So I understood Broadus and those guys. You don't want those guys, right? Not because they absolutely can't. It's because they haven't had to, because of the teams that they played with. Sonny Styles didn't really have to shed blocks all day. And when he tried, because of those he has two shoulders that don't seem very strong. He didn't even do the bench press in the combine. So he might not have the same strength right now. He might need shoulder surgery at some point, or maybe he just needs to rest. I don't know how severe it is. But if you do have issues with your power and your shoulders, you're like, shedding blocks might not ever be his thing. Pass rushing might not ever be his thing. But can he flow sideline to sideline? Sure, right? And we saw how effective a guy who can just flow sideline to sideline can be behind a Marcus Dixon front. So that took Sonny Styles back up on the list because of not only his range and his DB skills and our need for help at nickel, but also because we have BT Jordan who can develop, we believe can develop almost anyone into an effective rusher based on their skill sets, right? Because he's trained them all, whether it be defensive tackles like Kenny Clark or guys like Rashawn Gary, who's like more like a predator or a Terminator type, or you got guys like Benito, who's a finesse guy, Von Miller, another finesse guy. He's trained them all. He's not a specialist in one way or the other. So you can say, okay, well, Sonny Styles is not good standalone. He's not the best linebacker standalone floor today. No. So Bach and Broadus are definitely correct in saying that. They are. The people who jumping down their throat about that are crazy because he's not. But when you look at potential, you can say, okay, potential don't really mean shit if you don't got the people in place to develop them, but we happen to. So him here is probably more valuable to us than someone else. So I can understand the Cowboys even jumping up for a guy like that not because I think he's the best linebacker in the draft. He's not. He's the best frame and the highest potential due to all the things that you could possibly do with him if used correctly. And I think we have the insulation here and the setup here to be able to use him correctly. I do have to check my dog real quick because she's in her cage and she's pregnant. So I just want to make sure she's not in labor. So y'all got to give me a second because she's barking, but I want to make sure, it ain't no problem. Give me 1 second. Be right back. I think she cool. Okay. So when you look at a Sonny Styles, yeah, obviously because of what we think we're capable of, both with the scheme, the fronts that Marcus Dixon provides, and what BT Jordan can do with those guys, along with what Parker was able to do. So Parker and Fangio, hold on, I gotta take a deep breath. I was running. Parker and Fangio, the things that I was sparring this morning too. I got a headache. But Parker and Fangio, the things that they did with Zach Baum, they took a guy who, like I said before, if you looked at him, you would say, what the hell are the Eagles doing? I know the Eagles fans probably said the same thing. Prior to him becoming an all-pro, you say, what are they doing not going after, a linebacker or putting this guy above Nakobe Dean, who's supposed to come in here from Georgia and be the guy? Why would he be the guy that you go with, right? But look how that turned out. So can I say that they've earned the right to have the benefit of the doubt? I think they have. I say the same thing. Like when I talk about, I talk to, my fiance, I talk to people that I've dealt with, right? And I'm like, listen, I don't have a problem with someone doubting me that doesn't know me, right? But if you know me and you doubt me and you've seen me in situations, right, that I've been in life or death situations, I've been in business situations, I haven't had a job since 2014. So when people worry and they know me and they've known me and they worry about me or worry about certain things I'm doing, it does rub me the wrong way because I'm like, I've earned the right to be able to handle this or for you to, I've earned the right to have your trust, right, in me. And if I don't, it's not like you have to give it to me, but it makes me question, like, are you paying attention to the patterns? Are you paying attention to, like, every time we get in these type of situations, what happens? You know what I'm saying? So I do understand where people are coming from when they doubt certain things that the front office is doing. But I don't understand when you look at the people that are in that room and you watch their body of work. I've watched BT Jordan turn guys into pass rushing savants. All the guys that you even complaining about getting, like Max Crosby. Who does Max Crosby trust in learning how to be Max Crosby? BT Jordan. TJ Watt. Who did he learn from? Who did he learn under? BT Jordan. You know what I'm saying? We just went and got Rashawn Gary. Everybody like, well, why don't we arguing about Rashawn Gary, right? But BT Jordan works with the man. CP could have went to Green Bay and took the Green Bay job if he wanted to. He didn't want to do that. He came here, and he speaks highly of Rashawn Gary and Kenny Clark. Everybody in the chat, when I'm talking to people, they talk about Kenny Clark like he's trash and we need to upgrade there. I'm like, do you not trust the coaches and what they're doing? Do you not trust what he can do? Because I understood what Jesse Holley said earlier this week about that. I get it. But what people are not paying attention to outside of the things that the Cowboys have already done is the money. The money. When you look at the pass rush room, you got Ezeraku, who's a second round pick, right? Who I think right now is his job to lose. I mean, he's not a super cap hit, but he's fighting. He's basically a lead dog in that room as far as the young guys are concerned, vying for a second contract, right? They're not going to bring in. That doesn't mean they're not going to bring in a pass rusher behind them, but I don't think they feel that they need to jump as high because they feel like they did that last year. We got a first round talent last year in the second round, right? And yeah, he has a hip pointer, but BT Jordan gonna get with him after he's finished rehabbing, which he already got with him, right? And we think that he can do the same thing he did with Benito. He did the same thing he's done with, Cooper and those guys over there, right? Zach Allen, all those guys took an uptick when BT Jordan came around and when Marcus Dixon came around. So between what Marcus Dixon's fronts did for Denver, which they still run it today for the last 2 years, and what BT's individual skills and drills have done for those guys, Denver's entire line was whooping our ass. I think I did like a 2-hour video showing y'all that, right? So when you look at the guys that are in that room, though, you got Ezeraku, you got Rashawn Gary, right? Now Rashawn Gary, he's $32 million. He has a $32 million deal, right? $16 million over 2 years. Rashawn Gary, the money is in Rashawn. They've already invested in Rashawn Gary, whether you like it and agree with it or not. They've already invested the money there. So they feel like they've addressed the edge. Now, does that mean they don't need depth there? Yes, they need depth. But that doesn't mean they're necessarily going to jump out in the first round aggressively and go get one as if they're starving. They're not starving as much as a lot of these guys think they are because they don't think they are. That's whether you believe or agree or not. And if you don't agree, based off of what? You can't be not agreeing based off of what they haven't done or what their lack of experience or how ineffective you think they've been elsewhere, because you can go back 4 to 5 years on each of those guys and watch their work. And that's why they're here. But you can also watch the success that they've had everywhere they've been, right? So when you do that and you say we're not just bringing one guy like Eberflus in here and we have Scott McCurley as the middle linebacker coach. No. We went and got coaches on every level that not only were younger, but have a new age mentality when it comes to how you approach today's football. And we've seen this work several places, right? So when you look at it from that perspective, what are you basing our needs off of? You're not basing it off what the coach is telling you they want. Christian Parker actually came out several times and sat down and has explained to you exactly what type of players he's looking for. And then you can look at the players they tried to get. If I say, what type of linebacker do the Cowboys want? A guy who can shed blocks and flow sideline to sideline. Why do I think that? Because Jordan Brooks can shed blocks and flow sideline to sideline. Hey, and so can Devin Lloyd. Those are the guys they went after. So can Nakobe Dean. Those are the guys they went after. So what type of linebacker would I look at? The ones that can do what they do are the ones that have those types of traits. Now, I do think we have one that can do the things that a Devin Lloyd is doing, but nobody acts like he's anything. He's more explosive, he's faster, and he's violent. That would be Demarion Overshawn. They're both 6'3", 220, 230 guys. Like, well, Devin Lloyd is like 235. Overshawn is back up. Now he's up to like 230, close to 230 right now. But 7 pounds make the man totally different? I don't think so. So, but game-wise, we've already seen what Overshawn, a healthy Overshawn, can do. And last year, even with the brace, I just went through the film with some of y'all. I'm still working on his film. But Overshawn is one of those guys that you can say, listen, if he's healthy for an entire year, he's going to be a guy. But Overshawn is not a slouch, and he's not something to overlook or step over. And that's how people are acting. Like, there is a hole at middle linebacker next to Overshawn, right? So you can approach that a couple of ways. And if you look at what the history of those fronts are, like Blake Cashman and Josie Jewell, and there was another one, Strainad, I think his name was, number 40 for Denver. Those guys are a little different than the lead dog, right? The lead dog is the sideline guy, more like a prototypical wheel guy. And then the other one is usually downhill, but, more stern at the point of attack, right? A little slower, right? That's what they've been doing. I don't think that you're purposely looking for a slower guy, but that's what you've seen, right? Next to those athletic prototypical linebackers in this scheme or in this front. And sometimes you even see a safety, like with Minnesota, Marcus Dixon was using Josh Metellus. I think his name is Josh Metellus. He's like 5'11", 208. He's a safety, but they had him in the big nickel sets when really they're playing 5-1-5, but the safety is sliding into the box as a linebacker safety nickel hybrid. So sometimes he's playing safety, sometimes he's playing nickel in the slot, sometimes he's playing linebacker and he's in line right next to the linebacker, right over the B gap. So when you look at that, you say, oh, well, who else can do that? It'll be Kyle Lewis, Harold Perkins types of guys that can play that type of position. You know what I'm saying? So when I look at those things, I go look at players that align. Then they say, well, Harold Perkins sucks. He can't be a linebacker. Well, do you think that Josh Metellus is a linebacker? I don't. I watched him play linebacker for an entire season, 106 tackles, right next to Blake Cashman. Why? Why did I watch that? Because I wanted to see how this front was able to make a linebacker, or make a safety that effective at linebacker. And then when I look at guys that have safety linebacker flex, like a Harold Perkins or a Kyle Lewis, that first thing I hear is, oh, man, they can't shed blocks. They can't do this. They can't. Well, we've seen this work already very well with lesser defensive tackles in front of these guys. And I would say even you can argue lesser outside linebackers, right? I would say Grenard's an all-pro, yes. But I think Grenard was an all-pro because of what this scheme did for him, right? So I like Grenard, but do I think Grenard is like a world beater? I don't. I think the scheme made it so that he only had to rush half a man. I like Benito. Do I think he's a world beater? I don't. I think that he's rushing half a man in the scheme, and BT Jordan helps him maximize his skill set. So the scheme does afford you a lot more success. And I think coaches know that. And when you go scheme versus individual talent, what you get is this, right? I'll give you an example, right? I'm a promoter. People don't know that I promote fights, right? And the reason I'm able to be successful at promoting fights, even though I do all this other shit, is because of business, right? The real shit. People don't like it. A lot of people in Philly don't like me because they're like, where the fuck this guy come from? Who is he? Because I don't tell people what I do when it comes to content or other things. So they just think, he just pop on the scene and do what he want to do, and they don't like it, right? But The reason it works is this. When you have a promoter who has your fighter selling tickets, right? They're only as successful as those individual fighters are, right? Meaning if those fighters can sell tickets, they're going to have a successful show, and they're good, but they also want to put the fighters in contracts, exclusive contracts, that make it so that they can't move on without dragging the promoter along, which is why fighters don't want to fight for you. They'll fight for me. Why? I don't need the fighter because the system and the scheme is solid. I use influencers to market my fights, like Gilly and Wallow. I'll pay them. I'm not going to pay the fighter. I'm going to pay you. So now that fighter, regardless of what he sells, is bringing himself into an audience that he didn't have access to. So now he's growing his audience due to me. And when he leaves through and he comes through this gauntlet and he leaves and goes to the next level, he only can thank me. I'm not trying to tag myself onto. I'm not trying to hitch myself to your wagon. But you gained from coming through my process. I gained because you brought eyes to my process, right? But now I don't need to pigeonhole you. It's the same thing with scheme. If my scheme has developed several individuals to a level of success that I can move on from and they still maintain it, I know that I can make another Hove. Remember that? He said, niggas saying they made Hove. He said, okay, so make another Hove. Well, Dixon has made another Hove over and over again. BT Jordan has made another Hove over and over again. They keep doing it, right? So if they're able to do that, they don't need to go out and spend crazy money on big name free agents. Why? They can make one. And they know they can because they've done it. And then I prove that they've done it. And people say, oh, everybody doubts whatever, right? They said, we thought the same thing about you, Flus. Hold on, I got hair in my throat. Hate that. But they said, we thought the same thing about Eberflus. And then what happened, right? Eberflus came in here and he obviously, to his credit, he thought he was going to have Micah Parsons and a healthy Trayvon Diggs and a healthy Bland. And he didn't know that his safeties was going to get old overnight. But he didn't look very good either way, right? And he didn't seem to have a plan for how to adapt on the fly, which was a problem. So with that said, when you look at the money in the outside linebacker room, Gary already got it. Now, if you say right now, could you start with Gary and Ezeraku? Could you go into the season starting those guys? Yes, you can. And if that's the case, do I need to go in the first round and pick a defensive end or outside linebacker? I don't need to. But if he's the best player available, I might just do it anyway. But I don't have to do it. I don't need to jump or go crazy there. Okay, we went out and got Bullard. We got Agbania. We got Kenny Clark and Quinnen Williams, and we still got Toya, right? Do I need a defensive lineman or defensive tackle? No, but I can go get a developmental one and throw him in that room after the third round or fifth round, something like that. Why? Because I got those guys in front of him that can get him up to speed, he's going to be better than the average guy, right? In about a year or two. And the money is already allocated to Kenny Clark and Quinnen Williams. Am I about to trade them and put a rookie in front of them? No. So that takes guys like Peter Woods and those guys down a little bit. Why would I jump that high if I don't have to? But if he's the best player available at 20, I might do it, right? The holes, when you look at Caleb Downs, everybody's like, hey, I want Caleb Downs. Me too. But then you say two things about Caleb Downs makes you look at it a little different. The things that you would ask him to do, like I'm doing Brian Branch's film right now because I'm comparing him to Brian Branch. The things that you would ask him to do, meaning man up on wide receivers, be a tight end racer, play single high, play in the box, you know what I'm saying? Be all world. Okay, he's that Brian Branch type of guy that Detroit has, right? But didn't we just go pay money, $33 million to a guy that does those things? And Jalen Thompson, for real, who's already showing you that he can do those things? Now, can you argue that Caleb Downs is better at doing those things? He probably will be. His ceiling is definitely higher, right? But today, is he going to beat that guy out today? Now, when you paid him $33 million, he's not. Is he going to beat out Hooker flat out? Well, if you draft him, you might trade Hooker, maybe, or cut him. Could save some money, right? But can he beat him out? Maybe, maybe not. You just also went and got PJ Locke. Is he going to beat him out flat out? You don't know, right? So what I can say is, did they address the safety position with the style and the skill set that they seem to be looking for in the safety? They already did that with $33 million, and they did that with outside linebacker as well with $32 million with Gary, right? So they've addressed both those positions, outside linebacker and safety. They've done that already. Where are the holes? We're arguing because you got Bland, who they came out and told you Bland is going to be outside corner. Why? Because they're paying him to be one, even though I do agree he's better in the slot. But they just said that's what they're doing with him. So that's what they're going to do with him, and that's what they plan on doing with him. And they went and got Kobe Durant to also play outside. They came in and bought Kendricks here, but Kendricks he's not. They didn't pay him enough for you to say you solidified the nickel position. And all they've talked about is the nickel position, how Seattle has addressed it using Nick Emanuari. See, I got that one, Emanuari, and also Devin Weatherspoon. So they said they addressed it two ways. This is Shoddy and CP Sanders. So that tells you a guy like Keontae Scott is probably pretty high on their list. Why? Because he plays a lot like Devin Weatherspoon. He'll smack you. He runs fast as hell. He's big. He's crazy. He can tackle. He's good in run support, and he can control the flats. That's one way to affect the nickel position, right? Okay. So that's why I put him higher on the list. Not because I don't give a fuck about Keontae Scott. No offense to him, but that's why he's higher on the list. When you look at a guy like D'Angelo Pons, same thing. He has the traits that they seem to be looking for at that position. So, and we do need corner. Corner is where you have a big gap. So you have $90 million allocated towards Bland, and then the rest of it is like just guys, right? That, as far as money is concerned, Revel is fighting for, I think he's fighting for his solidified position, but that'll be in training camp. But they'll bring in the guy to push him, and may the best man win, right? But at corner right now, you can solidify that room with a guy like a Mansour Delane if you wanted to go that high, if he's there. You know what I'm saying? You can change that room. But the two positions, especially when it comes to this other one, where there's no money right now allocated, is middle linebacker. There's no money there. Demarion Overshawn, he's going to work for another contract, obviously, but there's no money allocated towards linebacker. So they're going to do something at linebacker for sure, maybe two. You know what I mean? So when I look at the money and then the holes as far as the scheme, if we came out to play today, there's still a hole at middle linebacker. Who's playing your second middle linebacker in your base front? You don't have one. You can say who can play your outside linebacker positions. Ezraku and Gary can start right now. If you say, hey, Sam Williams is going to start, nobody's like, yeah, then he doesn't give you the ick. If he does, then you're not watching football. Now, obviously, Sam Williams with BT Jordan in a full training camp and a year removed from his knee injury is what I'm referring to, not Sam Williams hobbling, right? I don't think anybody's saying Micah Parsons hobbling is going to be great next year, but maybe he is. I ain't here to tell you what he can't do. I just don't think it's going to happen because it doesn't happen usually. But who did come back in their first year back from an ACL tear after 1 year and got his highest sack count and his best year so far and his only Pro Bowl? That was Rashawn Gary. That's why I like him. You know what I'm saying? But either way, maybe I'm crazy. Right? Maybe these guys are out here, they're looking for pass rusher. Maybe they're looking for everything everybody else is arguing over, every position, right? Caleb, let's trade up for Caleb Downs when you got a guy just like Caleb Downs and Jalen Thompson, you know what I mean, who can tackle and play everywhere, you know what I mean, run from the line of scrimmage all the way deep and do all this other shit. Maybe they want two of them. I wouldn't argue if they did, but that safety room is already ready to go, ready to start today. You got 3 or 4 of them. If you count Marquise Bell, you got 4. They got Josh Butler. I don't know if Josh Butler's still here or not, but he is listed as a safety on the contract list, but, he might be gone. But either way, I think somebody told me he's gone now. But either way, you get what I'm saying when it comes to what's here, the way they've already allocated their funds, and the way this roster is set up. When you look at outside linebacker, starting, you already can see who starts. When you look at the defensive interior lineman, you don't need none. You're cool. When you look at linebacker, okay, you got one that's been unhealthy in Demo, so you probably need 2. Why? Because you want to make sure you got insurance for Demo. So you need a Demo-like guy, a guy that can flow. And, he doesn't have to be starting caliber. So does he have to be a first rounder? He doesn't. But you do need a guy that can move around, right? And you need a guy that can be that staple or that general in the middle of your field. So you need 2. You'll probably see 2 middle linebackers drafted in this draft because we need depth there. And there's no money allocated there. So it's somebody's job to win, and it's going to be a competition. That's what that tells you. Safety, I don't think so. Corner, We do need either a boundary corner that makes it so that you can justify pushing Bland inside. Meaning, if it was Mansour Delane, I don't think people are going to say, all right, well, Bland shouldn't play slot at all. Bland will probably be your outside corner in your base formation, and then in Mansour Delane will be the other. And then when you go into those nickel fronts where you need to put a nickel guy in there, you push Bland into the slot, and you bring Kobe Durant out there, right? You can do that today, or you bring Revel out there. They can fight for it. You can do that today and be just fine. Just fine. I don't mean serviceable. I mean good, right? So you got that approach. But if you miss on Mansour Delane, then you keep Bland outside and you go get a guy that's just going to be a nickel guy like a Keontae Scott or a Pons. That's how I think they're thinking. You hear what I'm saying? But that's all going to be determined based off of what gets picked in front of them and how the chips fall. It's not going to be hope. They know what they have right now. And you guys got to pay attention. What did they spend money on? All right. What are they spending money on? They cut some money from Diggs last year. Still got a little bit of dead money, but they cut some money from him last year, getting rid of him. Now they're going to replace him with somebody, whether it be a slot guy and Bland is your outside guy, or they're going to give you a solid outside guy that can lock down the whole side of his field if they're there. But they do want talent in the defensive back room. You know that. Whether that be a guy that's all world and a little bit of everything, you know what I mean, like a Caleb Downs. But if you like Caleb Downs, the problem that he has is not just Jalen Thompson. You got Thiemann. Dylan Thiemann, whatever, however you say his name. Thiemann can do a lot of the things, if not everything, you're asking Caleb Downs to do. Are they going to approach it a little different? Yeah. But can he play single high? Yes. Can he run the alley? Yes. Can he play in the box? Yes. Can he play in the slot? Yes. Can he play man? Yes. Does he have history of just being a straight free safety? Yes. And Purdue he does. Okay. So why would I go invest crazy money into Downs when even if I miss Downs, I can get a Downs clone? Then if I miss him, I can go get Emmanuel McNeil-Warren. Can he do all those things? Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, if those two guys weren't there, he'd be the number one safety in the draft right now. And Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, to me on film, looks a lot like Ed Reed, just all over the place. Another guy. Now, is he as good in man as those guys? No, but you can play it a little different. You got Jalen Thompson already who could do those things that those guys are doing. But you got another guy who's more like a instinctive ball hawk that he's just all world, and he's going to make plays and make hits. Are you mad if you missed out Downs and you got McNeil-Warren? No, you're not. Are you losing much? No, you're not. So why would I jump to go crazy there? Now they might. It depends on what CP wants. But for the fans who say that this is automatic, it's like we already have one. Whether you agree or not, doesn't matter to me. We do have a guy who could do everything that you would ask a safety to do with nickel flex in Jalen Thompson. And they must agree because they spent money on him in free agency. More money. He's getting more. He's the lead dog in that room money-wise. Money plays. Jalen Thompson is playing. For the next 3 years, he's playing. Hooker was playing. He might not be here because I don't see any of these young guys coming in and beating Hooker and PJ Locke out flat. I don't think they're just going to beat them. Now, we might go into 3 safety sets, and if we do that, okay, PJ Locke's on the field, Thompson's on the field, and Hooker's possibly on the field. If you get a guy that is so good that like Thiemann or a Downs or a McNeil-Warren or even a Kyle Lewis who can come in here and play safety, and he could be a hybrid where he's playing inline linebacker and safety at the same time. So you're still in your nickel, but you're in your base at the same time because you got a guy like Kyle Lewis on the field. He's not asked to be your middle linebacker. That'll be Demarion Overshawn or whoever you draft in front of him at middle linebacker. Let's say Rodriguez is here. You can still bring him in your big nickel sets. And now you got either Demarion and Kyle Lewis in the middle, or you got Rodriguez and Kyle Lewis in the middle in those sets, right? But Kyle Lewis is still doing the things that I just said, and I'll show you better than I can tell you in a second, but doing the things I just said that Josh Metellus was doing for Minnesota, number 44. He's a safety that's 5'11", 208. But he was able to play in the box in throughout the game, really. But in certain situations, he was in 2024, he was always on the field. In 2025, they had Eric Wilson and Blake Cashman as your linebacker. So they had 2 true linebackers in 2025. But in 2024, Metellus was on the field almost. That's why his numbers went down. He had like 86 tackles this year, and the year before he had over 106 because he was a linebacker, right? Nobody's watching the film. They're just looking at It's a safety position. When they look at Kyle Lewis, they be like, Kyle Lewis, he can't shed blocks. Or they look at Harold Perkins, and they look at his PFF, which is asinine to me. They look at his PFF and say, oh, he was the worst linebacker graded. Because if you're grading a linebacker who's playing safety, none of the bots or the algorithms that are allocated to the position translate, because he's not doing any linebacker shit on any play. So his grades are going to suck if you're using a computer and not your eyes. His grades are going to suck. Those who said that they watched the film and they still didn't like him are lying. You got to be. Because if you watched him in his first 2 seasons, you can see clearly he was used differently than he was in the last 2 years. Matt House versus Blake, whatever his name is, they had totally different philosophies for him. One used him as an outside linebacker, nickel guy who was a pass rusher. The other used him as a safety and had him dropping back, but he was still listed as a linebacker, and he was a top 5 linebacker coming into last season. But the reason his PFF numbers dropped so dramatically, not because of his stats, it was because of what you're asking him to do. When your linebacker's running deep middle all the time, or running and playing man against tight ends all the way up the field, I mean, if you grade him as a safety or a DB, he would do better than he did as a linebacker because he's not in the box. So how can you grade on his block shedding, on his box ability, his run stopping? You're not grading any of that because he's not doing any of that. So what we talking about? And then to even argue it with somebody is like, I can't, because I know if you argue it, you must not have done it. That would be like somebody saying, you should prove things with the film. I'm like, oh, you must be new here, because that's all we do. You know what I'm saying? When people say, hey, he can't do these things, I'm like, do you think that I want a guy that can't do those things? You think that I haven't seen him do it? I mean, obviously I've showed people, that he's done it. But I mean, I've never even seen a pass rusher he is a pass rusher and pretty damn good at it. But they say he can't shed blocks. How? I don't understand. He can get off of a block in space for sure, because that's why he was, doing what he was doing as far as blitzing and pass rushing. But who am I? I'm just a guy in front of a computer, right? Now let me jump back in and look at the comments, because I've been going for about 45 minutes, and I appreciate y'all patience. But I'm pretty sure y'all got a lot of questions, but we understand how we got here to this point. You know what I mean? Let's go. Let me jump back a little bit. Drell C, what's good, man? Dan Can Tech, what's up? Let me see. I got a new member. No, I got a super chat. All right. Some of y'all need to join up some memberships, though. Y'all kind of light on my memberships, but I ain't gonna be, too crazy on you today. It's Sunday and y'all ain't got shit to do, and I'm glad y'all here. So I'm gonna leave you alone. All right. What to do? Okoye Reezy said that. He appreciate you. He said, good people, don't forget to hit the like button on your way in. That's for sure. It definitely helped the channel out. All right. Whenever Okoye is late, I imagine he ran into some Eagle fan on the streets and is outside choking him out. I was in the gym choking him out today, though. We was mixing it up this morning. We got a fight. Shout out to Hakeem Harmon. We got a fight in Virginia on Saturday. So we needed to spar today, and we didn't have enough people to spar, so I had to jump in with him and spar myself. So that was fun. But yeah, that's what we doing. All right, let's go. He said, hopefully not, brother. We don't need the homie in shackles these days. Folks, camera work is crazy. They pull them joints out like a Japanese tourist. You ain't never lied. He said Japanese tourist, though. He said, so everybody who wasn't here, I was sitting here, I guess, ready to go live for so long. I was working on a thumbnail and my daughter called me. So I didn't know everybody was in the chat already. So they was asking, like, what the hell's going on? But let me get back to the question that was asked when I first went live, which is, hey, Okoye, what do you think of Dexter Lawrence going to the Bengals? They say he's better than Quinnen Williams. At what, though? Is he better than Quinnen Williams at nose tackle? Maybe. But he's not a 4-eye. So he's not, if you're looking at versatility, he's not better than Quinnen Williams. You can say he's better than Kenny Clark at nose tackle, yeah. But I wouldn't say he's better than either one when it comes to versatility, because those guys can play the nose and 4-eye very effective. Taking nothing away from him, he's the best one tech in the game. Yes. Is he better than them as far as being able to flex out to 4-eye? No. Okay. So it depends on what you're looking for in your scheme. If you were to get him, would you be mad? Hell no. You put him at one tech and let him eat, and then those guys just get better outside. But if you're arguing if he's better than Quinnen Williams, I think it's not an apples to apples comparison, because those guys are more versatile in that in that 3-4 set because they can play everywhere, right? So I don't mind it. Do I think that it's a good deal for him? Yeah, go get your money, young boy. Do what you got to do. He's a great player. Got nothing bad to say about him. But whether he's better or not, better for who? You know what I mean? And better in what circumstance? Was waiting on one of my go-tos to talk about fresh news. Facts. All right, the Giants got 2 top 10 picks. Yeah, that's what they got for it from Cincinnati. What they got 9 and 5. That is kind of crazy. That's dope as fuck. Now they gonna trade. They either gonna trade or they got somebody they targeting and they want to be aggressive both ways. So they might have 2 players they're looking for and they go about it that way. I don't know. But this draft is getting interesting. I won't lie. The Giants might try to cock block us. I ain't gonna front. All right, let's see where else we at. Let me see what the likes is on. Somebody said y'all tripping. That must be doing me dirty. Let me see. I'm about to snap. Oh no, I got 109 likes now and 155 of y'all on here. Y'all doing pretty good. Won't front on you. All right. But thank you for that. Let me see what else we got going on. Questions wise. If you buy coffee, try waking up your game knowledge by buying an AK membership. Cost the same, but only once monthly. Facts. Yeah, you sold it better than I could. Koya, what's up from South Texas? Cheers, dude. I do like Rodriguez at linebacker. Go Cowboys. I love Rodriguez, man. He's a smart guy. Like the fact that he's able to use his, he plays fast because he can use his eyes to get where he needs to go. It's not, he doesn't. I mean, when I say his eyes, his mind. He reads what's going on and he gets there. And then I was watching something that was real interesting. What Texas Tech is doing. They're in the future right now, man. You remember how you see like golf simulators where it's a whole screen, like when you're simulating golf, they have a whole screen in front of you where you're hitting, but you're not really hitting the ball anywhere. But it's 3D or green screen or whatever. Well, Texas Tech watches film like that. I was like, what the fuck? They have a field that's like 30 yards deep where they can line up, right? And the entire secondary and sometimes the front 7. This is probably why Rodriguez is so cerebral. The way they watch film is fucking bananas. It's dope. You should look at it. Go on TikTok and just type in Texas Tech film study. All right. Matter of fact, let's look at it. Let me see if I can find it real quick for you. And I'll show you myself. Let's see if there's a video for it. Nobody had. I guess it doesn't understand what I'm saying. Okay, and yeah, here it goes. Here we go. All right, let me show it to you. Let me share this with y'all real quick. This is crazy. So this type of film study second to none, man. Watch this. I don't need to hear what he's saying, but let me try to fast forward him. But this wall behind him, I hope they show. See this here? Hold on, let me make sure y'all can see it. Let me blow this up because it's kind of small. Hold on. Let me blow it up. But you can see it. This is like next level shit, man. So they're watching their opponent, their potential opponent, and the whole secondary they're making their checks and their pre-snap reads based off of what they see on the screen, which is crazy. So not only are you watching film yourself, but you're watching film collectively, and you're immersing yourself into the positions you need to be in order to understand what's happening right in front of you. So that's the reason that these guys were always on point, especially guys like Jacob Rodriguez. If you're watching film like this, this is state-of-the-art shit right here. I've never seen anything like this. But this is how I would imagine training a team. It's like you want guys to communicate, you want everybody on the same page to a man, then you make them all do this together. Your front 7-on-7 drills or whatever, they're doing this. You know what I mean? My linebackers, everybody will be lining up this way because you're getting a head start on the competition, and everything you see, you guys know, and then the coach can correct it right here live. You know what I mean? He doesn't have to, wait to see on the field or in practice, is it translating? He knows it's translating. You know what I mean? So That's beautiful work for me. Watching that is dope. When you come in, please hit the like button. Yes, for sure, y'all. Thank y'all doing that. Hit that like button and share it. To me, Styles is going to cost you a corner or a safety. Plus, you lose out on a guy going to get turnovers. I think the idea of going to get Styles is generational frame and generational potential. You know what I mean? Not floor, but generational potential. And then you're looking at a guy who can go do a little bit of everything for you. So if you say, hey, you're losing out on a safety or a corner, even, well, can you go get a corner that you like in the second round? If you did that with 39, yeah. Can you go get a safety you like at 39? Yeah, somebody gonna be there. You know what I'm saying? So that's probably the philosophy. And you're getting a guy who can play linebacker, but can also give you some nickel flex and outside linebacker flex. So they're looking at him as a 3-for-1 type of guy versus a guy like Styles is a 3-for-1 linebacker. I mean, he could play linebacker, give you some nickel flex, and give you some safety capability. Do I think he's better at linebacker than Rodriguez, though? No. But Rodriguez is just a middle linebacker. He's just going to do middle linebacker shit. So is CJ Allen. They're not doing nothing else. That's all they're doing. You know what I'm saying? You want flex, and you want a guy that can keep you out there, even though you're trying to be multiple. He can do multiple things and kind of disguise your defense because you're like, why is he lined up over that tight end? Or why is he lined up right now in the slot? Why is he lined up in the slot? Is he blitzing from out there? What is he doing? You know what I'm saying? So when you see a guy like that, if you see Rodriguez out there, you're like, oh, let's get him. You know what I'm saying? You want him in the box. So it's because he has the positional flex. That's why he's ranked higher, but he's not better at any one position than the guys ahead of him. He's not better at pass rush than Bailey or Reese or Bain or none of those guys, but he has the frame for it. So you're like, oh, you can get him up to speed to do some of those things. He's not better at middle linebacker than Hill Jr., than Jacob Rodriguez, then I don't think he's better than Josiah Trotter at middle linebacker. At middle linebacker only. If you just say downhill middle linebacker, he's not the guy. But they can't do the things he can do either. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's what they're looking at when they talk about him. And the fact that, yeah, you give up a corner or a safety doing that, but they're going to ask him to fill in and do some of those things. He would have to make up for that himself. All right. To me, he's just a tackle guy. They all over. Give me Hill if you want that. Yeah, Hill does that as well without having to share blocks, right? So a guy that's just running sideline to sideline making tackles but not getting blocked. Yeah, I agree. You could use Hill for that, but I wouldn't say Hill is a pass rusher, and I wouldn't even say Hill has the same coverage skills because when I'm watching Hill's interceptions, I watched them. They're throwing the ball right at you, dog. Like, I'm not going to hate on you or lie for you or on you. None of that's going to happen. He doesn't make the play, just funneled tackles to him. Well, I mean, that's what defenses do. You said, Okoye, you might want to buy a pup. Paul, you might not want one of these, though. These dogs big as shit, man. They big, but and I'm talking about bigger than me, both of them. Like, they big. Great. Look up a Great Pyrenees. And look up Kangles, like Turkish mountain dogs. Like, both of them big as hell. They both over 100 pounds, and they only 2 years old, but they big. They big. But I definitely, Paul, you already know. I mean, I definitely, if you want one, they won't have like 6 to 10 of them. So yeah, you can have one in like 2 months. No problem. Yeah, what I tell you, knocking out Eagles fans. Anthony Hill Jr. ran a 4.5. 1.5, 10-yard split. Same 10-yard split as Arvo Reese. 2 points slower than damn, what the fuck was that? Mosquito just flew by me. I don't know where he at though. 2 points slower than Styles. More production than Styles and Reese. He gets sacks and interceptions. He don't do it the same way though. That's what I'm saying. When Anthony Hill Jr. gets sacks, he's gonna do it from blitzing. He's not gonna stand there at outside linebacker and well, maybe with BT Jordan, he can. That's what I'm saying. Maybe he could. But I don't see him as that. I don't see him as a guy that you're looking at as an outside linebacker ever. I think he's a true middle linebacker, but he's an athlete at linebacker. And I like him. So I'm not going to sit and try to hate on him. But I would say if there's two guys that are like your poor man's version of Arvo Reese, meaning or your poor man version of Styles, it would be Hill Jr. and Galladay. They both can do they can give you that same flex, but maybe not as fast, but same flex that those guys give you. I prefer Rodriguez's instincts and ability to turn over the ball. Why risk the bust guy if he's had a bad year? Parker and them get fired. Yeah, that's true. Parker actually mentioned that. He's talking about certain players. He's like, that's the type of player that get coaches fired. You ain't hear him say that in the war room on YouTube. All right. Y'all ain't asking me no questions. Y'all kind of just debating. I can't believe they're hyping up Styles the way they are. Anthony Hill and Rodriguez are the best linebackers, not including Reese. Yeah, Anthony Hill, I would put Rodriguez as number one. Anthony Hill, C.J. Allen, and Trotter. Those guys are true middles. Yes, but like I said, they're not hyping him up. They're judging his versatility, and you're not wrong for judging his versatility. I think his versatility, if you have faith in your coaches that are here, which I do, think they can utilize his versatility and do some things with that. But he wasn't the most productive linebacker in the draft. That's true. As he's going to miss OTAs, needs to draft a defensive end and linebackers. Cheers. Boom. Yeah, but you can go get a defensive end. I think they're going to draft one. I'm talking about, do they need to draft one in the first round? Maybe not. Like if you can get Derek Moore, right, from Michigan, right, at 92, 112, pick 112, if you stayed put. Do you think that one of those guys, or Malachi Lawrence, if he's there somewhere, do you think that those guys with BT Jordan are going to be good? I think so. You know, even the late round guys, like the fifth round guys, like Max Llewellyn. Max Llewellyn from Iowa, I like him a lot. His spin move is already pro level. But do I think that BT Jordan can take him and do something with him? Yeah. I think BT Jordan is what makes you capable of taking pass rushers and defensive tackles deep in the draft or late in the draft and still getting more out of them because of the amount of training and coaching they're going to get versus what they would get somewhere else. You know what I mean? So I like that's why BT Jordan is like, you ever see how when you playing Madden, you bring in certain coaches and they give you a plus in certain categories? BT Jordan is a plus. He's a +1 in pass rush. You're gonna get an uptick there. All right. We need players that covers multiple levels on the defense, generally safety or linebacker. Yes. Y'all talking about Styles might be a bust already. A lot of these guys might be busts, but again, with this front, I don't think Styles will be a bust in this front. As long as Jerry and Steven stay out the way and allow Shotty and CP to cook, this team will turn around. They have been in the way for the past 30 years and failed on their strategy. I would agree that they failed when it came to the last 6-7 years. They haven't been developing anything. Those who said that they win in the first round, they are pretty good at picking first round picks because, you know, those guys come in talented, ready to go. But the guys that needed to develop behind them, like the thirds and the fourths and fifth round guys, I think they've been dropping the ball due to the coach turnover and having guys who were like dinosaurs when it came to like how these guys should be playing, like Philbin and those guys. Like they're dinosaurs. They're not with the new shit. They're not new age coaches. All right. So we've looked at most of the problem when it comes to where the Cowboys' holes are. Now, I'm working on film right now, and this is what I'm going to go do in a second. But I'm working on film for Devin Lloyd. I'm working on film for Brian Branch, because these are guys that when you look at Brian Branch, you can see the type of safety they're looking for. And I'm actually going to show you Jalen Thompson's film too, more of it. Because you can see the type of safeties they're looking for when you see these guys. And then you can say, well, how many guys in the draft, like Jalen Kilgore, McNeil Warren, you got Halsey, you got, a bunch of guys we don't even name, like I think his name's Wheatley, Zaki Wheatley from Penn State. You got a bunch of guys who can play safety at a very high level and don't need to come in and start. They just need to come in and fill into that room. So you can get the lead dog in that room, and then you probably trading Hooker, maybe, or cutting Hooker. Or you go get a guy in that room that can fill in to that role with those guys and mix into that rotation. So I don't think there's a wrong answer at safety. I don't think you have to. This draft is very deep with the positions that we need, especially in the second and third round. The problem that we have is if you miss on the first two picks, if we stay at 12 and 20, let's say you get at 12, hopefully you get Caleb Downs or you get Mansour Delane or someone like that, or Theinman, right? But you get somewhere like that, and then at 20, you can jump up at 20 if you know you're not picking again till 92. You're gonna have to reach and grab one of the linebackers you like right now because Rodriguez, Hill Jr., Trotter, Allen, all those guys are going to be gone before 92. So if you stay where you are right now, you have to pick linebacker at 20, right? Because, and the reason I say that is because you can pick a pass rusher at 92 and BT Jordan can get that guy up to snuff. Linebacker, I think, although it's deep, it's not 4 or 5 rounds deep. It's 3 rounds deep at linebacker. So if you don't get them in the first round, you're stuck. So I do see them trading back to get more value because of that, right? Because they wouldn't be stuck then. Then they could be a little more aggressive as to who they pick and maybe get 2 linebackers, right? If they don't do that and they stay where they are, I see them taking DB first because that's what's when I say high commodity, that's what will change the secondary because the secondary is already solid. But you put a just a dog in there with those guys and rotation with those guys, they're going to get instantly better. What's going on? What's going on, Sadiqa? Yes, man. All right, my bad. Go ahead. Okay, I'll tell you what a 4 eye is right now. All right, I got you. Thank you. All right, Sadiqa want to know what a 4 eye is, and I got the answer, Sadiqa, because she be helping me so much. So thank you, Sadiqa. Let me show you what a 4 eye is real quick. All right, now what I want to use to do it, I got a bunch of film. Hold on 1 second, Sadiqa. Let me see who I want to use. Bullard. I use Bullard's film. Bullard 1. Here we go. Let me see. Is this one gonna work? Okay. Oh no, that's not the right film for Bullard. That's him over with the Saints. He wasn't in the 4 eye then. All right. Hold on. Hold on a second, Sadiqa. Hmm. All right, let me see if you use Rashawn Gary's. Nope, that's the wrong one. God dang, I'm killing it. I got too much content. I need to. Y'all ain't even seen none of this stuff either. I don't know why I keep putting shit out, and not put. I mean, making shit, but not putting it all out. I don't got enough time all the time. All right, here we go. Tito, where you at? Agbo. Let me show you. Damn, that's not in film either. I'll be thinking this is film, but it's not. Hold on. These are just conversations I'm having. I know where it's at. Hold on. I'm sorry. Let me go to 3, 4 looks. All right, here we go. Boom. Okay, Sadiqa. Here we go. Let me see. All right, so blow this up. Pause. Where is it? Let me pause it. All right, pause. Okay, so you see where these tackles are, Sadiqa? 78 and 72. You see them? So if you lined up right over top of this tackle, like foot to foot, right? If Osa was lined up head to head with him, that would be 4 tech. If Sam Williams was lined up head to head with 78, that would be 4 tech. But the reason they call it 4 eye is because both of those guys are shading the inside shoulder of each one of those tackles. Do you see that, Sadiqa? You see it? Okay. I think you see it. All right. And then the nose tackle is lined up right over the center. You get what I'm saying? So when I say 4 eye guy, these are guys that are usually taller, they're usually bigger guys. They're not your average defensive end. So a 3-4 defensive end is usually anywhere from 270. They're like 6'3, 6'4, 270 to 290, 300 pounds even sometimes, right? And those guys have to be. Hold on a second, y'all. Hold on. Hello? Upstairs? Yeah, I'm in the basement recording. Yeah, she got on what she had on earlier. Why? Oh, okay. All right. All right. Hold on. I'm live right now. I'm live. All right. Hold on 1 second. Okay. All right. My daughter about to go outside and play with her friends. But either way, so these guys are usually bigger. They're a little more stout at the point of attack. And let me show you what I mean. Like usually a defensive end, when you think defensive ends, a lot of people think like Fowler, right? He's a guy like 250, 6'3", 250 in that range. Or a guy like right now you can see Morris Leofiles over here. He's like 6'2", 6'3", 240, right? That's not your usual outside linebacker either in this scheme. But your edge or your defensive end, when you think defensive end, you never think of a 300-pound guy or a 290-pound guy. And that's because, in a 4-3, they wouldn't be. But in a 3-4, what they're asking these three guys to do, watch at the snap. You see the snap? Those three guys on the interior, what they've done primarily, or what they're supposed to do, is take out all five of those offensive linemen and cause some chaos with that, right? Hold on, my dog is going crazy. She's coming in through the garage and making all this noise. But come on, man. Sorry about that. Dog start going in. No, you good. But no, you good. You good. But you see all the chaos that they caused in the interior of the line right here, right? So everybody's collapsing in, and they have to be strong enough to take double teams and to man up against the tackles and the guards that they're dealing with. Whereas if you asked Micah Parsons to do this, not anything wrong with Micah Parsons, or if you ask Fowler to do this, they're going to get pushed off the ball pretty quick, right? Here, your linebackers are free because of what those guys are doing up front. Right, let me show you. Now, this is more of a nickel package. That doesn't really work for you. That doesn't work for you. Here's one. Right there. Boom. Let's see where we at here. Okay, are we in that four? No, that's nickel too. Nickel. Here we go. This is it again. This time they were asked. We didn't have the personnel to really run it last year, but we was trying to do it anyway. We were asking Clowney to be that 4-eye guy, which he can be, but I don't think that's where he's best, but he can do it. And we were asking Osa to be that 4-eye guy, right? Let's see what those guys do in the beginning of this play. So they're slashing and using, athleticism. Now Osa got free right here, right? Because what's going on, man? What's going on? Y'all got the garage open? My dogs went crazy again. My bad. He said, what about the length at that position? Let me see what he's saying. What about length at this position? What are Parker's parameters? Well, I think Parker is looking for more stout guys. It's not just about your length, but how stout you are. Because when you look at what Philly does, Philly, really, Jalen Carter is not a 3-tech unless he's in nickel. Jalen Carter is really a 4-eye guy. They run a 3-4, and then what's it, Majombo, whatever his name is. He's another guy that's playing 4-eye, and then you have big ass Jordan Davis as their nose, right? So if you look at those parameters, he's not really looking so much for tall, lengthy guys like we have in like Rashawn Gary can play 4-eye, right? But he's looking for guys like Agbo, guys that can all of them across the line are taking up double teams because I think his idea, him and Dixon's history, what they've been doing, like Dixon did it with Jonathan Allen, a guy that's like 6'3", 6'4", 300 pounds, right? Long, but strong than a motherfucker, right? So when you look at those types of fronts versus the traditional 3-4, like your traditional B 3-4, you would see a longer guy like a JJ Watt. He's 6'5", like 300 pounds, right? He's a little longer, a little taller. Guys like Chauncey Golston can play 4-eye. Guys like Sam Williams. Sam Williams played 4-eye in Ole Miss. That's why he's still here, because he has a history of doing it at 6'4", 270. You know, if he just puts on 10 pounds, he's 6'4", 280. He can play, 4-eye. He could be one of those guys. But even Bullard's only 290. He's like 6'3", 6'4", 290. You know what I mean? I think he's 6'4", but 290. He's only 290. He's not super big, right? But those guys have to be able to man up and take and take on double teams all the way across the line, because what he's trying to do is make it so that entire front five, that entire offensive line is occupied. And it's probably better to watch Agbania to understand this, because here, you see Osa's kind of slashing. Osa he was benefiting from these fronts, right? Because he didn't have to do very much, and those other two guys were kind of taking the pressure off of him, right? Now you see here, again, you see Kenny Clark. This is before Quentin Williams was here. Kenny Clark needed some help, right? You got two 4-eye guys that are kind of small, Osa and Sam Williams, kind of playing that 4-eye right there. And you can see us getting pushed off the ball a little bit because of that, right? See this? Now, you can say that they're in 4-eye, right? Which they are. Well, not Sam Williams. His alignment is a little bit different. He's a traditional defensive end on this. And you can say that Marist is playing in a 4-3 front, kind of 4-3 under, rather than a true outside linebacker, because he's off the ball a little bit, right? And you can see where Fowler is, right? But Morris does play on ball a little bit in this film, but not this particular play, right? Boom. But those guys were getting kind of pushed out of there due to the fact that they're a little smaller, right? And you see here, now you got Toia and Nealand and also Thomas in there. They're not in any type of 4 at all. They're in a 4-3 front, but they're getting pushed off the ball as well. You see this? Boom. They're all getting beat up front. Before Kenny Clark got here, they were getting smacked up because they're slashing out of the gaps. See? They're not able to hold their gaps. They're slashing. And then that makes your linebackers, I don't care who you have back here, linebacker, that makes them instantly less effective, because look at this. Boom. Your linebackers are getting reached, even though right now they're kind of free. I think that Murray has to make that play. He does make the tackle, but you know what I mean? They still got smacked up front. Let's see what happens on this one. Boom. So Kenny Clark gets upfield. Boom. That one wasn't so bad. Yeah, that one wasn't so bad. Boom. All right. So that was the answer to Sadiq's question, which is, what is 4-eye? I think you kind of understand now. I don't think rushers think of block absorption. Someone has to eat blocks so the edges or the linebackers make plays. Head should be up and they read and react. Yep, that's exactly what they should be doing. I'm going to show you something real quick. All right. Come on, you got to close that. She got to close that garage. She's killing me. She's killing me. Killing me. She don't understand. She's killing me. You know what I mean? Close the garage. Close the garage. God damn it. I'm going to show you some BT Jordan. Not BT Jordan, but Marcus Dixon film real quick. Linebackers run free. Here we go. Boom. All right. So this should help. All right, let me see. Boom. Okay. See the front? Do you see the chaos that's being waged right now? Now look at your outside. First off, look at across the line, right? They run 5 and 6 man fronts over here. And I think we're going to be doing the same thing. So that's why we need another defensive tackle. Maybe. We got four of them that I think can flat out play right now, but they 5, because you got Toya is not the flat out play guy, but he needs to be at his size. He better be able to do something now with those guys. Look, all right. So initially, look at the line. Seattle has 5 offensive linemen and 2 tight ends out there, right? Boom. Right now, just right now, you see one, the guard is pulling to seal. I think that's Grenard on the outside, but the 2 linebackers that are in the middle of the field are still untouched. Nobody got to the second level. See Van Ginkel still in the backside, and he only has a wide receiver trying to block him. That ain't gonna happen. Cup, I think, is trying to block him. That ain't gonna happen. And then you see those guys in the middle. So Blake Cashman gets peeled off of the guard peels off of his guy and pushes Cashman out of the gap, and then Eric Wilson's going to meet the tight end in the gap, knock him the hell out, boom, make the play, right? But he was able to do linebacker things because he's not having to deal with guards every play, right? He's dealing with just a tight end, which is what he's supposed to be able to beat, right? Watch this. Now this front, same thing. Right now, all of your linemen, all of them, are engaged. So you see your one text 101, your 4-eye to the right with 72, he's 1-on-1. Van Ginkel's being double teamed by 2 tight ends, and then you have the defensive end on the left side he's taking on the tackle by himself. But what's not happening is neither one of those linebackers are being engaged by anybody. My car? Oh, it's in the car? I think we took it out. Check the trunk. But you see those linebackers aren't being engaged with, right? But they're actually passing on this one. But even the blitz gets there, why? Because everybody's occupied. Like, this is chaotic for your front line. And it's not just chaotic because of the fact that they're pass rushers on the field. It's not just that. What happens is when you see these fronts, what you have to do if you're any team playing these guys, you get bigger. Meaning we're going to bring more beef up on the field. We're going to put these 2 tight ends in here because we need to keep people in the block. And if they're blitzing, so right now you got what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys up front, and you had 7 linemen, right? So one of them is getting double teamed, so it's man on man everywhere else, right? Now you play action here, boom, you go to play action pass, and now that safety, which is Martellus, who's supposed to be covering his running back, he doesn't have to cover him because he's already in the backfield. The running back can't release because he has to save his quarterback's ass, right? Now, number 18 can release, the tight end can release right there, right? But he engages as well. So what does that mean, right? You got 7 guys up front. So you got 5 offensive linemen and 2 tight ends. That's 7. You got the running back. That's 8. Then you got the quarterback. That's 9. That means there's only 2 people out on a route right now. That's it. And they're in max protect. All right. You get what I'm saying? Now there's I guess what's that? 6. There's 6 guys rushing. That means it's 5 guys back versus 2 guys that are running routes, right? You ain't fucking completing that pass. Like, if they have any level of sense back there, you ain't getting that ball off. You ain't completing no pass because it's 5-on-2 back there. You know what I'm saying? So those guys up front, those 5 or 6 guys up front have to beat your ass up front. They have to control the line of scrimmage. And this is the difference between what we're doing now versus what we were doing before. Before we were letting offenses kind of dictate to us how they were going to play us, right? Now we're dictating to them, meaning when you see what we come out of the huddle in, you can run, trips and spread looks if you want to. But look at this. Now they're doing it right. They're not as heavy in the box, right? They're on the shotgun and they have 1 tight end in there and they got a running back in there in their regular looks. But we're playing a double-A gap pressure, right? To hold the center. Boom. And at the snap, the same chaos, right? Everybody's crashing and getting chaotic. Eric Wilson is just running to the backfield untouched. Here it is again. Same thing. When you try to spread out, they're going to run through you. If you don't spread out and you try to get bunched with them, you don't have enough people and enough resources running routes to really get anywhere, right? So that's how they stop the pass without even having to stop the pass. It's not like you have to stop the pass from spread looks. They're not going to bother coming into spread looks because even when they try it, like you see here, they're spreading out a little bit. They're still in a tight formation. Hold on, let me see. Boom. They're in motion, right? They can see, all right, they thought they were in man anyway. But look at this. You don't know what they're doing. You don't know what protection to call. And you got guys in tight to try to pin and release or block and release, right? But watch this. Boom. You don't know who's coming. How many people do they bring this time? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys, right? Boom. That means they got 6 guys back. But how many guys are they blocking with? They only got 5 guys. No, 6 guys blocking because they got a running back blocking too. They got 6 guys blocking. They only brought 5. So they got 6 on 5, and they destroyed that like it was paper mache. It wasn't shit. They still got the ball off, but even when they're in their big nickel sets, they're able. He said, did they get flagged, Okoye? I don't think they got flagged. But even when they're big nickel sets, you can see the way that Minnesota and Marcus Dixon's lines, the way they approached attacking the line of scrimmage, they made you have to deal with them versus them trying to deal with you. They made you have to deal with them. Watch this. Boom. So now they only bring 4, it looks like. But look at what Van Ginkel is doing. Van Ginkel's rerouting the guy right now. Watch this. Boom. You see that? So Van Ginkel's rerouting. You see Eric Wilson's over here, man. Murphy's up here, man. You got 2 deep safeties and then 2 guys pressing. And now they just bought those guys time. Not only did they buy them time, but let's go back a little bit. Watch this. So you buy them time and you also confuse what? You confuse the protection because those guys are all at the line of scrimmage. We would assume somebody's blitzing, right? Well, you see Eric Wilson's in the B gap right now looking like he's blitzing. They have to account for him no matter what. He's not aligned looking like he's covering the running back, right? So they're like, damn, somebody's blitzing. This is like a zone blitz. The running back's looking at the middle linebacker saying, all right, maybe he has me in man. They don't know what they're doing. But at the snap, they drop back in coverage. Van Ginkel drops back as well, right? So now Van Ginkel's rerouting that tight end. Now, when you press that way, what does it do? It forces the quarterback to hold the ball longer, and it confuses your protection at the same time. So even if you weren't good enough to beat those guys in front of you, you now have more time to figure it out because that quarterback has to hold the ball based on what they're doing on the back end. And he doesn't know what they're doing on the back end until he has the ball in his hands, which is right now. Now he's looking up top. Hey, there's help everywhere. He came off of that first progression. Look, he's looking at the tight end in the middle of the field right now. He's double teamed. He's bracketed right now, right? All the while, Dallas Thomas, I think his name is number 15. He's beating that tackle. Well, did he beat him right off the rip? No. He had time to beat him, right? Why? Because that quarterback has to hold the ball. He has time to beat him. Now, when they finally penetrated the A gap, he went to go slow outside. He didn't know that his tackle got beat. So they force a fumble, and boom, rest is history, right? Okay, because he's back there holding the ball right here. Look at him. Now, right now, he's still holding that ball, right? Thomas is beating him, right? Okay. Where can he go with the ball? He can throw right now inside to Cooper Kupp and maybe get something there, but he's not looking there right now. He's looking at the tight end. He's looking at the safety. So he doesn't get it there. He tries to flow over there. Now, he can check down right now to Walker, and I think he went to go do that right here, right? Now he sees Kupp and Walker finally breaking open, but he already has the ball in his hands. And by the time he tries to run towards that and throw the ball, boom, force fumble, done. Get that? All right, now these are the 6-man fronts, right? So you see 4 down linemen. We'll do this as well, right? This is like a 6-1, 6-1-4, I guess. You know what I mean? But they'll bring 6 people up front. So 4 down linemen in your normal 4-3 looks, but these guys are just huge, right? So these guys are going to take out the entire 5-man front, right? Now, look what the Seattle Seahawks do to try to counter that, right? They have an extra offensive lineman on the field. So they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, plus 2 tight ends, right? That's 8, and that's 10. So there's only 1 receiver out there right now, 1 receiver. But you got 4 guys up on the line of scrimmage, and they're daring you. They say, all right, we got guys that if you do have your tight ends in trying to block us, we're not going to just get upfield. These outside linebackers, both guys outside. Really, it's not an outside linebacker. They have Wilson standing up outside. He's a middle linebacker. So really, they're in their normal 3-4, but they got 1 guy with his hand down, 61 Redmond. And because he has his hand down, and he's playing, he's shading inside or outside of that tackle and the inside of that 5th tackle or that 2nd tackle or whatever, big tight end, whatever you want to call him. They put Wilson outside of him, right, to make sure he can set that edge. And these guys can go and destroy everything B to A, meaning the B gap, the A gap, everything. They want to collapse that. And then they want to contain with Van Ginkel and Wilson, right? Let's watch, see what they do. Now, we know it's only 1 receiver running a route, right? Those guys behind there, they it's kind of easy to cover that, especially at the snap. You know, like they either play action, and even if they drop back and pass, it's only 1 guy really running a route. Boom. Look how easy that was for him. It's not because he's a great linebacker. This is Eric Wilson. He's a 9-year journeyman, never has done anything really in the league. But this year he looked great because this is how easy the scheme makes it for you. Look at that. He just run right in there. Boom. Nobody touched him. He just ran right in there. You know what I'm saying? Now they're running that double A gap pressure look again, which we loved when Zimmer was here. Boom. Now that running back has to come across, Charbonnet has to come across and block Van Ginkel, right? Okay, and then you don't know what Blake Cashman or Wilson are doing. Are they blitzing? And then you see Grenard on the outside. So you're like, what's happening here, right? Right. So at the snap, though, look at the tackle. I mean, look at the center and look at the guard. Neither one of those guys are blocking anybody because they had, you could tell the protection that they called was, hey, we have to pinch so that we can account for 55 and 51. Neither one of those guys are blitzing at all. Neither one of them. Van Ginkel is blitzing, from the outside. Boom. You see those guys, they set up an ISO for Van Ginkel based off this alignment. Because you see, Bernard has a tackle he's dealing with on the right side. Van Ginkel's dealing with a tight end. And now he has help. That tight end has help from the running back right there, but a running back and a tight end ain't going to stop Van Ginkel. Boom. See that? Simple. Simple. That was a manufactured sack. All that didn't come from, hey, you line up and you beat the guy in front of you like we've been doing for years. It's, hey, we're going to confuse these guys in the middle. We're going to make sure this entire offensive line pinches inside and slides to the right because they're going to slide to the defense's right because Grenard is the pass rusher that's on the field. So they're going to count those four guys as the guys. Then they can't say, hey, let's look at Van Ginkel as a pass rusher because even if they do that, you got Blake Cashman and Eric Wilson, who if they spread out and tried to block, if this tackle tried to get to Van Ginkel, they're going to be one-on-one with 97 and 93, which means if 51 or 55 blitz, there's nobody to block them except for the running back. And then, get what I'm saying? So they pinched and said, we're going to put the running back and the tight end on our weakest pass rusher. And I hope that, these two guys in the middle don't blitz, but you still got to account for them. And then at the snap, boom, they did none of that. But they affected the pass rush still. 55 and 51 both affected the passing lanes and the pass rush, all by just standing in a different spot, just by mugging the line of scrimmage. We never did this shit. And not enough, which I don't. We did it on third down sometimes, but it would be like he would be asking. This is why I wasn't too mad at Murray because the things that Eberflus was asking him to do were retarded. I'm gonna show you something real quick. Watch this, because we did do some of it. Let me show you. Boom. Look at this. Boom. Boom. All right, watch this. Easy sack. Easy sack. Manufactured sack. You see Van Ginkel in no man's land, weak side, strong side. Everybody else is they slid strong side, right? Boom. Damn. How did I get over here? Boom. There go Van Ginkel. Now, because of that, right here, right? Van Ginkel, they tried to slide out there to deal with Van Ginkel. They kicked out there. You see how much gap there is in the B gap, right? But on the other side of the field, what happened? Watch what happened. Watch number 15 inside that tight end on the left. Because they're blitzing the opposite side, I'm gonna show you. That tight end's gonna kick out to try to stop the blitz. You see Murphy's blitzing over here, right? And that tackle is pinching 97, and he's supposed to be blocking one-on-one with Dallas Thomas. Dallas Thomas don't even get blocked. Why? Because of how far Van Ginkel was lined up. So the way they slid protection this time, they slid it that way. Boom. And now Thomas has number 15. Nobody's blocking him. Smack. Now you could say, oh, he got 15 sacks this year. He only had 8. I'm just saying. But if he did have 15, they would be calling him the best pass rusher in the game, right? But you know how easy it is to pass rush when you got guys that are scheming it up for you like this? You know what I'm saying? We don't have anything like that. We didn't have anything like that for years. We didn't have anything like that for years. He said, can you tell us about Gary? I heard you say before he switched his assignments or something. Oh, you've missed. There's a lot of film that I've done on Gary and them switching his assignments after week 8. So up to week 8, I'll show you some things on Gary since you asked. Right? I like the film. So I'll show you. Let me remove some of this stuff from the stage. I'm getting messy back here. Let me clean up my studio just a little bit. Boom. That's Dallas Turner, not Thomas. My bad. Yeah, I knew it was T something. I don't know. You know how I am with names, man. All right, let me go find Gary's film real quick. Which one do I want? All right. So this is the wrong year, I think. Yeah, this is 2024 or something like that. So this is what Gary was doing before. Oh, let me escape that. This is what he was doing before Parsons came here. This is the year before, right? You see here, Gary is to your right. He's one on one with Lane Johnson. Boom, good pressure there. But this is what he was allowed to do before Parsons got here. All right, he was just rushing. Boom. You see, he's getting off the ball, going right after the quarterback right now. You see him there? Boom. Like he was making noise because they were telling him, hey, cut loose. You see at the snap, they talk about his get off now. He didn't lose his get off. This was the year before. And nothing wrong with his get off. Is that he said, oh, Cody has great film on Gary. Yeah. Nothing wrong with his get off at all. Is that he wasn't asked to get off last year. Boom. Right there. Good, very good get off, very good pressure. I think he even beats Lane Johnson for a sack here. Boom. Very good pressure again. You know what I'm saying? He's causing problems. This is in the playoffs against the Eagles. It's not regular season. This is the playoffs. All right. To the right now. Watch Gary. Boom. Get off. Very good. He got choked up that time. He swims under that because Hurts is holding the ball too damn long. He gets himself a sack. But I don't think Parsons ever beat Lane Johnson for a sack, and I don't think he ever beat Penei Sewell either. Gary beat both these guys this year, 2024, for a sack. Boom. And I think 2025 too. Boom. Smacked him up. He gonna hurt Lane Johnson in 2025 too. Gary did. Gary's a strong ass dude, man. You see right here, he hurts him right there. Look at this. You see this? Look at this get off. Look what he about to do to this man. This is what 6'5", 280 pounds can do with a quick get off. Look at that. Look at Lane Johnson. Killed him, murdered him, and drew a flag on that one, right? So he was murdering guys that we struggle against. You know what I'm saying? You said Turner was a Falk type, right? I don't know how big Turner is, but and I would assume. But okay, so this is probably the wrong film to show you though, because let me show you what was happening in 2025 with Parsons. So just to give you a synopsis so that you know what you're looking at and I can kind of get through it quicker. The first 8 weeks of the season, Gary was leading the team in sacks. He was top 5 in sacks, okay? So Gary had 7.5 sacks the first 8 weeks. You can go all the way back to the Steelers game if you want to watch. Just watch where they had him and how they moved him around before the Steelers game. And you got to realize the politics that's played in this, right? If you spent that type of money, meaning like the type of money that gets coaches fired, you spent that type of money on Micah Parsons, and you got a guy, Rashawn Gary, who was already here, who was just leading the team in sacks. Right? I don't think it looks as good, and I do think that Parsons probably has something to say about it as well. But up until week 8, you had 2 issues. Parsons couldn't set the edge as well, and Pittsburgh knew it, so Pittsburgh ran right at him. Let me show you what happened. So I don't think it was just. It's not just shade where they're like, oh, they just hate Gary only, right? It's not that only. I'm saying when you watch Micah Parsons versus the Steelers, you can see why they wanted to get him off the edge. They didn't want him at edge because he wasn't looking as good. Let me see if I can find that film. All right. I don't know which one it is though. Nope, that's not it. Like I said, I got a lot of film from the same time periods. All right. Nope, that's not it either. All right. All right. This might not be the one I'm looking for. Okay, so I even looked at this right now. Here's something that hold on. Let me escape that. Get back in here. Okay, so pay attention to something. When you see this is what they did to Gary, right? You see 57 out here. You see Parsons out there, right? When they got into obvious pass situations, they kept taking Gary off the field. Boom. So Parsons on the field. They're running right now. But Parsons is on the field. Whenever they thought that they were passing, they would take Gary off the field. When they thought there would be a run, they put Gary on the field. He said, "Am I saying?" See, people do dumb shit like this, and bro, I know you cool and all, but you be trying to start bullshit. Bullshit. Am I saying that Gary is better than Parsons? Why would I be saying that? Is Parsons a better pass rusher than Gary? Probably. Uh, but is he a better defensive end than Gary? No, he's not, because he can't stop the run from defensive end. So is Parsons a better player if you use him at his right position? He sure is. But film do not lie. Is Parsons better at stopping the run than Gary from the edge? No. Okay. Is Gary better than Parsons at pass rush? No. But is Gary so much worse at than Parsons at pass rush that he's a liability at pass rush and you got to take him off the field for pass rush situations? No, he's not. What's going on, Lee? Where mommy? She outside. Where you going? Why? Oh, you done? Oh, okay. That was fast. Yeah, you tripping, bro. Like, you tripping. They're different players. One is a strong side guy. One is a pass rusher. Parsons is a pass rusher. He's not a run stopper from the edge at all. So to say that he is, or keep trying to argue like he is, you tripping. You tripping. What I did say though is Gary can beat guys, smack up guys that Parsons is trying to beat historically. I haven't seen Parsons beat Lane Johnson. I haven't seen him beat Penei Sewell either, and that's what he lines up to do. Or Trent Williams, when he lines up against him in the playoffs, he gets washed and whooped by the guys that Gary is beating. That's what I am saying. He is beating those guys. Now, does that mean he's a better pass rusher and he has the same skills as Parsons? I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that he whoops guys. So to say that he can't pass rush is crazy with the guys that he's beating. That is crazy. But you trying to start a debate that I ain't starting. Now, here, this is what started happening when Gary was leading the team in pass rush from the beginning of the season. Right now, this is what they'll say. It's like his brother said this himself. He said he played 50% of the snaps, and and half the rushes or whatever. But he still has 7.5 sacks, playing half the rushes. And you got to ask yourself, why is he only on the field 50% of the time? And it's not because of him. He gets getting pulled off the field. And when he is on the field, they put him strong side, right? Now he's strong side. Parsons technically has a guy over him as well, right? But look at this, right? Now watch Parsons. Parsons is not going to bother trying to deal with the guy in front of him. He's just going to try to get inside and pass rush. See, his job is to get upfield. Gary is not trying to get past his man at all. He's rerouting his guy. So he reroutes and then he pursues and gets into the rush. Do you get what I'm saying? But what they said was Gary got slow and his get off was trash. Well, I mean, is he asked to get off right here? No. So if somebody asked about Gary, I'm not bringing the argument back because I think I already proved my point with these. But this is what was happening to Gary at the end of last season. Now he's strong side again. Boom. This time he gets to just get off. Nothing happens. What I do see, though, are you watching your guy Parsons? Since you're talking about Parsons, watch him. Tell me he's trying to stop a run here. Where are they running? Every time they run, where do they run? They run right at your boy Parsons. Where are they running? Let's watch this again. Parsons to the right. Let's see what happens. I can tell you where they're not going to run. I can tell you that. Boom. He gets upfield. Where they run? Right where he just came from because he's asked to get upfield. Where they running? This time they ran at Gary. Parsons got poked in the eye. Let's see. Where they running? Where they running? Right at him every time. They ain't running right at him because he's good at stopping these at all. Boom. Running right at him every time. He said, huh? Huh, what? Where they running? This time they ain't running at him. He said, nobody's running out. Do you want to do this, Quali? Let's do it. It's on you. That's up to you. Now let's do it. Watch this. I'm going to show you because I know where the bodies are buried. It's kind of not fair because I understand that you don't know, but you're doing it anyway. So I'm going to still do this to you. All right, hold on a second. Let's get off of this because we were trying to show Rashawn Gary. Guy asked me about Gary, so I was showing you Gary. But if you want me to show you Parsons versus the run, I will do it. All these are off guard counters. And you go, okay, all righty. Let's watch this Pittsburgh game. And then you tell me if they're running at your boy Parsons or not. Let me see. I don't know if I got the right
Now,
film here.
TP, you know, yeah, I know,
Go
you
ahead.
know, if you
Oh,
look
here
at
we go.
wasn't really doing
That's
what
the Pittsburgh
down
game.
multiple times. Obviously, this film didn't take me that long because I've been watching your brother
Let
all
me
year.
escape
I've been
here.
watching him his whole career. I've
Boom.
seen every snap multiple times, right?
Well, take me out of it.
Versus the run,
Okay.
especially this year. I don't know if he was injured or what, but they was eating his food versus the
Mm-hmm.
run, and loafing
Mm-hmm.
is a word that I will put
Mm-hmm.
on it too. Like
Mm-hmm.
he wasn't really
All
doing
right.
anything in run during
Let's
run
do with
downs.
Pittsburgh. Did Pittsburgh get outside of Parsons? You said
Now,
nobody getting
you
outside
know,
of him,
if
right?
you look at Gary and say that he's loafing, I don't know. You got to show me what plays and what
That's the
games
wrong
you
one
talking
too.
about
I was
because I
trying to
don't
show if he
see it.
was loafing.
But
I think on that
I
one.
damn
Hold on.
sure saw
Boom.
your brother either loafing or getting his
Let's see if
food
they get
because
outside of him.
almost the whole season when it came to rundowns, he set the edge okay
They get outside
every
of him there.
once in a while, but as you can see even here,
Yeah.
he's getting thrown to the
First
ground. They
down.
running right at him
All right.
every time he
Let's
was
see
out
another one.
there, especially against those AFC North teams
I
like
don't know why they
like
started it again.
Pittsburgh.
I don't understand.
It's
Boom. Did
not
they get
exactly
outside of him
easy.
there?
You know, those guys
Huh?
ate his
Same
food.
game too.
They're not scared of
This
Micah
ain't like
Parsons. Like they
15
ran
different
right
games,
at him
one clip per game.
intentionally
Same
most of the
game.
night and got their
I
yardage
don't know
for
why
it
we
too.
talking about it.
And he
Boom. Do,
didn't look
do
like he
Parsons even
wanted
try
no
to tackle
smoke.
there?
You know, he didn't look like
No.
he wanted no
What did he do?
smoke.
Just stuck his hand
Yardage
out.
for it too. And he
He ain't
didn't
try to
look
do
like he
shit.
wanted no smoke. You know,
Nope.
I'm being honest. And this is
Okay.
the film. I didn't have to,
What we
remove
doing
nothing.
here?
This isn't
They
like
scared
one
of
play
him?
cherry pick. This
Are
is
they
most
scared
of
to
the
run this
game
way?
that he was in. The other plays were like passing downs or
You scared
scrambles
of
and
him?
stuff like that. But
No.
when they ran
Run
at
right at
him, they had
it.
success almost all night.
I don't know
And
why
right
you keep
after this
talking
game, they changed the
because I don't
defense,
understand. You
and
can watch
suddenly
it anytime you
Gary
want, bro.
just
No
disappeared.
disrespect to you,
And I
but
wonder why.
you be
You get
talking
what I'm
like I don't
saying?
know
This
what I'm
is
talking about every
about
time you
week
get in
8.
here.
Gary was
And I
leading
don't
the league in
understand why you keep
sacks at
trying to
this
argue.
point,
You and
and
Davey, all
you
y'all
can
do is
see a
try to
lot of
debate instead of, but you ain't debating with shit. You talking like you don't understand what you're looking at. Look at this again.
and suddenly
All right.
Gary just
Who are they
disappeared.
targeting?
And I
Are they
wonder
running
why.
at
You know what I'm
Gary's
saying?
in
This
this
is talking
game?
about week 8.
They
Gary
didn't
was
run at
leading the
Gary
league
at
in
all.
sacks at
All
this
their
point,
yards on the ground.
and
You can look
you
at
can
what they
see a lot
did
of
to the Packers
complaining from
too.
Micah Parsons in this
They
film, bro.
ran
So
right at
I wouldn't
Parsons
throw the
over
loafer
and
word
over
around, and
and
I
over and
damn sure
over
wouldn't
again,
really
bro.
downplay a
Over and
move
over
like
again. The
a
whole
Gary
game.
coming to the Cowboys
Whole
because
game.
I can't find no
Whole
film of Gary
game.
looking like this. I'm not
Whole
gonna lie to
game. You
you. I
got
would have
choked
said
up
something
right
about him
there.
by now,
Whole
but I
game,
can't
bro.
find no film last
Why
year
are
of
we talking
Gary
about it?
looking like this or a
Y'all make me
team
do it to make it seem like, are
intentionally
you hating
running
on
at him, bro.
Parsons? I'm
So,
just telling you
like I
what he
said,
can do.
you know,
If y'all make that
enjoy
hate,
Green
then
Bay.
go ahead. And that's on
Mike
you.
over there. That's
But
what's
don't
up. I
tell
ain't got
me
no
he can
problem
set
with him being
edges
over
and
there.
y'all
I
bullshit when you
don't.
say it.
I'm glad he
Stop
over
saying
there. I
it.
want him to
He's
be a
getting
linebacker
handled
here. If he's
the
not a
whole
linebacker
game.
here, I would
And
rather him
after
be
this game, they
a
changed the
pass rush
defense
specialist elsewhere.
because
We
they
don't need
didn't
a
want him
pass
on
rush
the edge
specialist.
anymore
We need a
because he
full,
can't do it.
well-rounded edge
So
or
Gary
linebacker. And
was
this
the
is
odd
Gary when
man
they
out
ran
after
at him.
that.
Just so you know,
This
and
is them doing the
I
same
can
shit
get
at
more
Gary.
film
What
of it
happened?
for you if you
They
want,
tried to get
but
outside of
I
him.
will
What
stop
happened?
that, bro,
They didn't.
because now it's gonna be
And then he
fun.
goes and
You know
make
what I
the fucking
mean? Don't do
tackle
that.
like you're supposed to. You know what I'm saying? But you want to keep doing? You said you telling me what it sounds like. I'm telling you what it is. It don't matter what it sounds like. I'm telling you what it is. If he doing better than Gary at stopping the run? Yes or no? He's not. So if you say that Parsons is better than Gary at pass rushing, I'm not going to argue with you. He is. Is he a better defensive end? No, he's not because he can't stop the run. I'm gonna tell you, we had a guy. We had a guy called named Robert Quinn. Robert Quinn could get you 20 sacks, more sacks than Parsons ever got. Right? He can get you 20 sacks in the season. He did it in I think Philly, somewhere else. Right? We went to Chicago, went crazy. He was doing crazy here. But why did we get rid of him? Because he could not stop the run. You know what I'm saying? From the edge, he's a pass rusher. Parsons at the edge is a situational or a pass rush specialist. That's what he is. He's a pass rusher. That's it. He's not a run stopper at all. Not even close to better than Gary in that department. Not even close. You don't run at Gary. I was showing Gary because someone asked. Parsons just so happened to be on the field, and we talking about what Parsons was doing and not doing. But it wasn't an argument about Parsons. You know what I mean? And I think that argument is dead. Because to me, if you like Parsons, I'm not gonna argue with you. I like Parsons, but I like Parsons as a linebacker because you can't block him at linebacker. You can get him out the game. We just showed you a whole game full of it. And I got every game. You want some more? I'll give you more, bro. I just didn't want to do this because that's not what the video is about. Because y'all gonna make it seem like I'm starting to try to throw shit on Parsons to make Gary look good. That's not what it looked like. I said what Gary can do. I said what Parsons cannot do. Just like I say, but when you say when you ask me what happened with Gary, because the guy asked me, that is what happened with Gary. Gary was leading the team in sacks up through week 8. And after week 8, where he got a sack in this game too, up to after week 8, you can go to the Giants game. You can go look at Pro Football Reference, and this should just show you how I think, right? I'm gonna show you something real quick. Watch this. And that's not to come at you, Quali. It's just saying y'all be arguing with me for no reason, bro. I'm gonna just show you something though. Watch this. I know you've been here. I remember you. But watch this. Now, let's look at the game logs, right? And I'm going to show you where's 2025. There's like something going on with 2025. There you go. 2025 is not here for some reason. Why the hell did they take it off here? I don't understand. 2025 is here though. Why is this not showing up? Hold on. Verification successful. That. All right, well, we don't have to look at that one from Pro Football Reference because I don't know why it's not showing that screen. It should show what's happening this season, but I don't see 2025 in here. Why would it? It was here before. What's going now? Look at the stats. Let's see game by game. Micah Parsons. Stats. 2025 Packers. All right. Yeah, I don't know why 2025 isn't here, bro. It's not here. 2024 is. But you can see, you can go back and look yourself, though. The Giants game, after the Giants game, it was the Giants, it was Detroit, and it was, I think, Minnesota. The Detroit, Minnesota, and the Giants. Parsons' stats went through the roof. He had 6.5 sacks all the way up until, that point until week 8. They had 2 losses right after that. They got smacked up by, I think, Carolina and somebody else. And then after that, they switched to defense where Gary was asked to reroute tight ends the rest of the season. He wasn't getting off the ball. And what happened was this. Parsons was asked, because they moved Gary from 4-eye, he was playing 4-eye some defensive tackle. They put him back outside to reroute tight ends, and they moved Parsons back inside so that he didn't have to set edges because he can't set edges. So they said, we're going to have somebody else outside of Parsons setting edges, and that's what you see in the defense. And they was moving Parsons around, like they probably should as a chess piece, move them around more, but Gary's the one that took the hit, right? Now, after that, Parsons' stats, his tackles for loss, everything went through the roof. Gary's went down, Parsons' went up. And in 3 games, so Detroit, the Giants game, and I think it was Minnesota, Parsons had six sacks in just those 3 games. And that's how he got to 12.5 last year. Before that, he was struggling to even get his sacks because they were able to slide protection to him when he was just outside because they didn't have that A-gap pressure from Wyatt, who was in and out of the lineup injured, right? So Gary was the guy that was cleaning up because Parsons was able to get wide and Gary was flattening out and sort of getting sacks. You know what I mean? And Parsons was mad because he's like, yo, I'm chasing the guy into Gary getting sacks, right? And Gary was beating his guys too, though. It's not like he wasn't winning. Like, I could show you Gary sacks. It's not like cleanup sacks. Like Osa got a lot of cleanup sacks last year because of Quentin Williams and Kenny Clark, where you don't see a pass rush where he's just winning off the rip. Osa's winning like after somebody gets chased out, he sheds and he goes get the ball. That's not real. All sacks ain't created equal. Gary was winning on his own without Parsons. And even after Parsons got hurt, they still kept Gary off the field in obvious pass situations. Now, why you would do that, it doesn't make any sense to me. But I would think that if you have a guy that's already here who was already doing 7.5 to 9 sacks a season anyway before you got here, and now he's on pace. Last year, he was on pace for double that because by the half mark of the season, he already reached his season average, which is 7.5. I do think that's a problem if you brought a guy in here and you bet the bank on him for $50 million a year. I do think you better fix that fast or somebody's getting fired. You know what I mean? Now, could it have been because of that? Maybe a little. But it also is because of the fact that he wasn't stopping the run from the edge. All right. So It is what it is. But if you think that Parsons is better at edge than Miles Garrett, T.J. Watt, Max Crosby, those guys, he's not. If you think he's a better pass rusher than Gary, he is. Is he better as an overall defensive end or outside linebacker than Gary is? He's not, because that's not his position. But Gary ain't a better middle linebacker than Parsons, because that ain't his position. They ain't supposed to be in the same places for permanently anyway. But they're doing that with them. Why? He said, but why is he doubling his normal stats? Oh, he's doubling his normal stats. Obviously, Parsons is over there. Of course. Parsons is helping take pressure off Gary, right? But Parsons is supposed to be the guy. Get what I'm saying? So when they bring Parsons in, I don't think Parsons was happy with the fact that Gary was beating him in sacks. You could see that their energy on the field. They went from high fives and chilling in the beginning to no high fives at all. After each one of them get a sack, later on, after probably like week 4 or 5, they don't even look at each other. Like the rest of the season, no rap. And then after that, the stories that started coming out by Gary, and the things I don't like about Parsons is the story that started coming out by Gary is that he wasn't hustling and he wasn't trying. And I thought that might have been, just hyperbole until Gary's team reached out to me and said it. I didn't even repeat it at first. And then Parsons' brother came out and said that. So I said, well, if you saying it, they said that you said it, and you saying it on Twitter right now as they saying it, then you must have said that, right? And if you're doing that to your teammates during the season, that's kind of what you've been doing to your teammates since you've been around. So to me, it's not about Parsons' ability on the field. I don't like what he's done to his locker rooms, and I don't like the fact that he seems like a selfish player. That doesn't mean he's not a good player, but make the guys around you not only better, but motivated. I think he helps with your pass rush because everybody's going to get one-on-ones if he's out there. It's definitely going to help with that. But when it comes to stopping the run and being a guy that motivates the guys around you, ask D-Law if D-Law liked playing with Parsons. Ask Hooker if he liked playing with Parsons. You know what I'm saying? Ask Gary, obviously, if he liked playing with Parsons. Ask the guys from Penn State if they like playing with Parsons. Parsons hasn't been the greatest teammate, in my opinion, or the greatest leader, in my opinion. And that's truly how I feel about him. It has nothing to do I think he's better as a pass rusher. He's a savant and one of the most talented players I've ever seen in the league. But he's not the most talented defensive end at all, not even close, because he can't do both. He said, why you think Gary was happy when he came to Dallas? Because of the Parsons drama. Wherever Parsons goes, he divides locker rooms. Exactamundo, brother. He said, if Gary can create pressures on a QB, why don't we let him rush full time? Well, they were doing that before Parsons got there. But you'd realize Gary, they've been taking Gary off the field for, like I said, in obvious pass situations. I don't know why you would do that. 55 and 99 are not better than Gary well, obviously they're not better than him at pass rushing because he had more sacks than them in half a season. He had more sacks in half a season than they had in the whole season. Why? Because he was that guy. But I don't know. I don't understand it either, bro. But I can show you this. I can show you some things, and then, like I said, we can move on to something else. Anything else y'all want me to pull up film wise? Like I said, I got a bunch of film, and if I got what y'all looking for, we'll do that. He said, I'm talking about us as Cowboys. Oh, they're gonna let him pass rush here. What do you think he here for? He gonna do that here. He wasn't doing that there last year. That's why he was mad. But he gonna do that here. But one thing Gary has never had, in his entire career. Oh, he had it with Kenny Clark at one point, but he never had Kenny Clark and Quentin Williams on the field at the same time, rushing inside while he's rushing outside. You know what I mean? It really don't even matter what you put on the other end because those three guys are double team proof. Gary, Kenny Clark, Quentin Williams, they can both take double teams all day. So that's only helping the young guy like Ezeraku on the other side or whoever we draft. That helps those guys because you can't play with them dudes. You can't play with them at all. He gonna get the rush though. But at the end of the day, like I said, when I showed you the Van Ginkel film, right? Let me show you again if I can find it. Watch this. Let's add this back to the stage so you can get what I'm saying. Let's watch this. Let me pull you off the screen real quick, quiet. Let me show you something. You show a pass front or something else. Let me see. Pass play. Here we go. Now, you see that right here. Watch Van Ginkel and Grenard. So if both outside linebackers are asked to do this because of the scheme, it's a different ball game. But when you just ask one to do it, it seems like you're trying, and then tell the other one he's not getting off the ball. Sound crazy to me if he's not even asked to get off the ball. Watch this. Now look at Grenard at the bottom of the screen, number 58. Look at Van Ginkel near the top of the screen, right? But you got double A gap pressure. Those four guys are blitzing. So the two, Jonathan Allen and 97, and then the two linebackers are all blitzing. Boom, you see that? So those are the four that were coming, right? Now Van Ginkel's job and Grenard's job is to reroute. So this is what they had Gary doing. And because this is a Marcus Dixon front, he will be doing this, but so will the other outside linebacker. It's both their job because it's just part of their coverage. So we can disguise the blitzes that we're doing, right? And buy time. So Van Ginkel's now is dropped in coverage, and Grenard is still pressing that tight end. You see that? And Van Ginkel is covering everything inside. So there's no, you can't throw a slant at the top of the screen. You see what I'm saying, Qua? Can't throw a slant at the top of the screen. Can't throw a dig. You can throw that seam route, but Harrison Smith is over the top of that. But you see at the bottom of the screen, Grenard is still pressing this guy. Boom. You see that? Boom. There's nowhere to go with the ball. And by the time you have somewhere to go with the ball, so right now you don't even know who's coming. And by the time you do know who's coming, it's too late. See, look, boom. All right. Now look where Goff has to go with this ball right now. You look to the right or to your left. Get Van Ginkel and Isaiah, whatever his name is. They're both bracketing this guy. And then you look at the right of the screen, you see both Grenard and Metellus are bracketing the tight end. He can only go deep with this ball, which it hasn't opened up yet. It hasn't developed yet. And by the time he can, boom, it's too late. It's too late. See this? Again, this is not like a fluke. So he will be asked to reroute here. He's not going to just pin his ears back, Gary, because you can see what their outside linebackers are asked to do. And I don't think he has a problem with being a team player. It's just the fact that if you have Grenard firing off the ball every play and Van Ginkel only dropping back, that's a problem. But they didn't do that. Van Ginkel and Grenard both had 11.5 and 12 sacks, respectively, doing this all season in 2024. And they both became all pros because both of them had the same responsibility. They didn't do that with Parsons. They just said, Parsons, you pass rush. They would never ask him to do this, even though he's probably just as good, if not better, backing up than Gary is for sure. But they had Gary backing up and playing in space. For what? Gary ain't never. Gary really a 3-tech type guy. He big as hell. You know what I mean? They got him listed at 277, but you know what I mean? You eat 2 cheesesteaks over the weekend, you 288 real quick. You know what I'm saying? So Gary is a big dude. Big dude. But look at this. Same philosophy again, right? So same thing. So they will ask him to do that in this scheme. You see this? Boom. So they will ask him to do this, and he will do this. And when you say, you know, high-paid pass rusher, Gary's a high-paid pass rusher. He's getting $16 million a year. He already is your high-paid pass rusher. That's what they brought here, and that's what they chose to bring here. Now look outside right now. Grenard and Van Ginkel, again, 43 and 58. Just watch them. Watch what they do on this play. Van Ginkel's weak side. Grenard is strong side. And that's the other thing. They will never put Parsons strong side. They wouldn't put him there. Boom. All right, so off the snap, this time Van Ginkel is in, he's dropped in coverage. Grenard, pass rush. See that? Boom. So they alternate at times, but they weren't doing that every single play. And you can see it here. Looking outside, Grenard, Van Ginkel. See what they're doing. That was Bullard. Bullard is killing shit. Now, this was telling me why guys like, for those who think that Kyle Lewis and Harold Perkins can't play behind these fronts, look at 44. 44 is right in front of you. 44 is a safety that's 5'11" and 208 pounds. Tell me when he gets blocked in any of this film. And I watched a lot of 2024. Just, do you see him now? He's trailing, right? Him and Cashman were never getting touched. This is Bullard's film, but look at this. Oh no, they will draft a pass rusher. They're gonna draft one, but they don't have to draft one high in the first round because they can develop them with BT Jordan. But they're gonna draft one. Boom. Now watch 44. Watch 44. Nobody's touching him. Free to run to the ball. All those guys free to run to the ball. Parsons does make his secondary better. He made Green Bay secondary hella good. I won't lie about that. When I say hella good, they dropped a lot of interceptions. They should have caught more. But they had opportunities because when Parsons and Gary were on the field at the same time, quarterback got rid of the ball like nothing. He kept doing it over and over and over again. And like I said, I can show you film of that, or you can just take my word for it. But even some interceptions, like that first Lions game, Parsons directly forced the interception. You know what I'm saying? And Gary in his playoff game. So in this game right here, watch this. Gary was forcing interceptions too. They, like I said, they should have caught more of them. They didn't catch him, and that's not on Parsons or Gary. But when you look at the playoffs, let me show you. Let me see if I got that right quick. Like I said, I love doing this shit, man. You just got under my skin with that, though. I was like, yo, because everybody keep thinking I'm trying to argue, that Gary versus Parsons thing. Everybody who I was arguing against was arguing it because they tried to shit on Gary when he came here. Like, well, why do that? What's the point? Now, this was the playoffs. Well, this is before the playoffs. Oh, matter of fact, let me escape. Let me blow that up. So this is before the playoffs. Watch this. So Gary's to your right. Now look at what he's doing. He's doubling himself. You know what I'm saying? Every time. So he ran over. That tight end didn't go. He didn't step outside the tight end for the tight end to get a free release. He stepped outside him because he's asked to press this tight end. He ran straight to the tight end, gets rid of him, right? Gets under this, boom, forces that interception right there. See that? So when you say they make the secondary better, so did Gary. Both he does too. Watch this, boom. That would have been a fumble, but it wound up being an interception because but Gary's the one who hit his arm, right? Watching from this side, same thing. He's over the tight end, right? Watch what they're doing. Watch what he does. He runs to the tight end, not a rank. He ain't try to go inside. He runs to the tight end. Now Parsons has a running back release on his side, but Parsons has they're going to chip him, right? Parsons gets chipped outside, so they're both dealing with double teams. Gary's double teaming himself though. Now he's just now getting into his rush, but they saying his get off was slow. How the hell is his get off slow when you ask him to press a tight end? So watch this, boom, beat his man, smack him the fuck up, and the quarterback just got rid of it like goddamn, it's over. You know what I'm saying? He just tossed the ball. JJ tossed that ball up there, which was cool, but he was forcing the ball out pretty quick. Watch this. Boom, this is just a stunt. Gets there, get the ball out. Get there, get the ball out. So that's why corners was able to sit on everything because of what they was doing outside. They dropped that pass, helped the secondary out there. This is the playoffs, right? Look where he is. Now, Parsons is hurt at this point, right? So if he hurt, why the fuck you still got him doing it? They still was taking Gary off the field in obvious pass situations. Now, if you say he's not a pass rusher, right, then he should not be beating both these guys and still getting to the quarterback before everybody else if he's not the pass rusher on the field, right? Okay, let's see if he do it. Watch this. Now, is he trying to avoid 80? He out in no man's land at that. Boom. Did he try to avoid 88? No. Is he trying to avoid Swift? No. He trying to get in Swift lane too because that's what they asked him to do. So he smacked up 85 on me. He about to get in Swift lane. Boom. And now he starts his rush right now. Boom. And gets a pressure still. You know what I mean? Why would I be asking him to do that? Don't make sense. Now he's inside, right? Finally. Is he going to be able to get off the ball? Boom. Done. Soon as you let him pass rush without having to do any of that, look how fast he gets home. Quick move. Boom. Stab, go. Rip, done. He hits his arm right here. This should be an interception. This would have won that playoff game for him if Bullard don't drop this pass. But he dropped it. But this is the type of those types of plays win games. Get what I'm saying? Let's watch this. 75, they said, now they lied to you too, and I'm gonna show you how PFF is a liar. They said 75 only gave up 4 pressures the whole year or some shit like that. I was like, what? Bullshit. I seen him do that in one game against Gary by himself. Gary whooped his ass. Done. Killed him. Killed him, and get to the quarterback. He got rid of that ball. But like I said, I've done so much. I know you ain't new here, but I've done so much film on Gary when he came here because of all the arguments. I don't think I need to say no more about him. That's why I left it alone. But when you say that, I was like, come on, man. I know he's killing it. He said, I think coaching staff is throwing me off. Parsons seemed to make our secondary a lot better. He made the run game. He can't make your secondary better if your secondary can be play actioned against because he's out there. So instead of trying to drop back, he does make it better where nobody's just dropping back and throwing against the Cowboys when Parsons is out there. But the problem is you can run the ball so effectively, you can get in a third and short situation. So then nobody ever gets to just pin their ears back and just there's no true drop backs. You had games, whole games, where quarterbacks never drop back. And when I say never drop back, Josh Allen, he threw the ball 15 times. They was all play actions. That's not a drop back. The Green Bay game where we got killed, very few drop backs. Most of them was play actions. So play actions slow your pass rush up and it stresses out your secondary. And if you're not getting any pressure off that, you cooked. So it helps your secondary when they're doing true drop back passes. Yes, it hurts your secondary when you can't stop the run because now you don't trust your fronts to stop the run. You got to load the box and try to stop it, and now they out of position. So it's a gift and a curse. Okoye bringing receipts, finger red, red number one, finger red number. Oh, I guess you put that's supposed to be an emoji. I guess it glitched out. X hurt last year, played through injury. They stopped sending him to just fire off. That's what Broadus said. Easy. Yeah, Easy was hurt. Of course, 6'3", running a 4.3, the QB going to make decisions. Parsons got secondary dudes, some Fetty. Yeah, he got Diggs some money. He got Bland some money. I'm not worried about pass rushing. We had BT Jordan working on our defensive line. Look what he did with Denver and Seattle. Both those defensive lines look crazy, and I got plenty of film on that too. I think people sleeping on Leofile at outside linebacker. It's going to tell you how. I think he need to get with BT Jordan though before the draft. Get with him this week or he might have done it already. Who knows? They just didn't film it. But I think if BT Jordan can give the stamp to a guy like Leofile, it'll change what you do in the draft. But I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if Leofile is like the fourth guy in that room. Skywalker still made a good point when he said that. If he like the fourth guy in that room, I don't know how. I don't know if he beats out one of those young guys. If we grab a guy like Cassius Howe or Height, he might not beat those guys. They coming in with better pass rush skills than he has. But what he does have in his favor, though, is you can put him on the field as a spell for Gary or for Ezeraku, and you don't fall off when it comes to run support. He's going to set the edge and stop the run and wreak havoc. So he's a guy that if you are rotating him in behind Ezzy, or if Ezeraku's not fully ready in the beginning of the season or beginning of camp, you can have some faith in Leofile being able to step in and still give you some great run support from the edge. Okay, after watching the film the last few months on this issue, I started worrying about the defense. Good job, bro. Thanks, Carl. Appreciate it. That's what I do it for. Reezy, one thing Okoye has taught us is the tape does not lie. Oh, it do on some people. I ain't gonna lie. I found some tape lying, but it depends on what you're looking for and looking at. If you're looking at scheme, then the tape don't lie. Because when you're looking at the scheme and seeing what a person is doing and trying to reverse engineer what they're doing, you can get a better understanding. I watched BT film training and couldn't get enough. Was excited. Yeah, I got a bunch of it, man. You must be new here. What's that? KZ Cowboy, Crazy Cowboy, I guess. You must be new here because I did all that on this channel. You know why I'm not focused about an edge? Look at the way Alex Highsmith plays and then look at Okoye films on Leofile last year in the last 5-man front. I think he could be an impact player. Look at Van Ginkel, too. I'm like you. I can't get enough, and I can't wait for training camp. Dak and them not going to walk down this defense. No, they're not going to walk this defense down. They not. That's why the scheme has a lot of backpedal, mirror, read burst, and play ball. Yep, because you keep your eyes on the ball, you're going to be good because those guys are going to force the ball out pretty fast. I would prefer Leofile as the middle linebacker. I would too, but the crazy thing is there's no money. You haven't invested in the middle linebacker room, but for some reason they still haven't, they haven't said let's try him. He's not the shiftiest guy. I'm not gonna lie, but in zone, like if you brought in Josiah Trotter, I think Leofile is just as good as him in coverage. Like they both can't cover, but coming forward, I think they about similar too. You know what I'm saying? Going forward is the problem, and I think that both of those guys is on it. Okoye, I have a question. I realize it's not necessarily an easy get. How do you believe that new linebacker coach contributes from Georgia? I can't find enough of the college tape to tell you. And I looked at some of the guys that he's developed. I'm like, well, in college, you got guys going to the transfer portal, and you got the guys that he did like Nolan Smith and there's a couple guys that he had trained or coached during his time there, but they was only there like some of those guys were there before he got there. Then the other guys that were there after the fact, you know, I haven't seen him develop them because I haven't seen the film. I haven't seen like what did this guy start off as versus what they ended up at. I can see that when I'm looking in the NFL because I can go follow those guys' career. I haven't really been able to do that with college because it's so short lived and everybody's moving around like musical chairs. You have one guy have a championship year like Nolan Smith. He gets drafted. The guy comes in behind him, and he's already been being developed too before you got here. So how much of that was you? How much of that is them? You know what I mean? I don't know. I have to really dive into the college film for that. He said, nah, man, Leah Fowler coverage is can be had, but that at that line outside linebacker, I think Leah Fowler is better there going forward and in the flat, he's I guess fine. I'm usually a casual lurker. Draft got me commenting. Oh, all right. Because I've never seen you in the comments before. But yeah, definitely appreciate that. Like I said, anything else film wise y'all want to ask a question about or y'all want to talk about or even challenge? Because I know Quali jumped in and talking crazy. So anything else that you want to throw out there, I will jump up. I will jump up there and throw it in there. Boom, boom. I'm gonna show you something since we was on that topic before. While y'all thinking I'll find Gary in the playoffs. Like just watch Gary in the playoffs. It's crazy. That's crazy to me too. I'm like, yo, it's not even close. Parsons never done anything in the playoffs. So when it come to that, I don't understand why we would even talk about that. Let me see. Playoffs, playoffs. Let me see if this is the right playoff, John. Yeah, watch this, John. This is when he was a young boy. That this is like his first or second year. This is like 2021, I think. Watch this. Gary had a hell of a game this game. So these are the games like we seen the game. This 2021. So I think Parsons played this team. This was this the team that we played? 49ers that they lost to. Did we lose the 49ers in 2021? I don't know. But this game right here, this is Gary's best playoff performance. Look at this mother. You telling me he can't create on his own? Look at this. Look at him off the bottom of the screen. Watch this. Boom. Smack him up. He just lifted a grown man up with just one arm. Look. Stab. Gone. Ain't nothing wrong with that get off, man. That's 6'5", 280. Here you go again. Doing it again. Boom. Gone. That's 2 sacks. Here he is again. Gone. Gary like blazing off the edge. Here he is at the top of the screen again. Let's see what he do. He dropped in coverage that time. Forced him to pull the ball down. Now he try to run off. He got to throw this ball elsewhere. Interception. And that's because Gary jumped in there and took his check down away, forced him to keep this ball right here. He trying to throw the ball to the running back, but Gary chasing that. Boom, get rid of it. See what happens here. Boom. Beats him again. Same move, stab. Come back around. Half a sack. And that's in the cold at that. So this is fourth and 1 with 4 minutes left. Watch this. You're about to smack the shit out of both tight ends on the bottom of the screen. Boom. Get through them. Bang. Break that up. Like, I ain't got no problems with this, man. This is him again, bottom of the screen. Let's see what he do here. Boom. Beats him inside now. Gets rid of the ball. Smack. That's the end of the game for them, though. But like I said, I got so much Gary film because of those arguments that I know exactly where to go when it comes to him. I like he said his measurements is silly. Yeah, I like Mike Washington Jr. too, man. He's like a second or third round pick though, but I love him. He remind me of two guys. Darren McFadden, not because he's from Arkansas, but Darren McFadden and DeMarco Murray. Because they got that long upright running style, but they know how. Or Eddie George, they're tall, big guys he can run faster than everybody except for probably D-Mac, but uh, but he can lower his shoulder and run with power too because he's 230 pounds, but run a 4.3 and he's nimble. He just got to hold the ball a little bit better. You think BT Jordan is helping the defensive staff with knowledge since he's working with a lot of those them before the draft? You wasn't here earlier, Nipsey. Shout out to Nip, but you wasn't here earlier. I said that earlier, but yeah, for sure he is. Washington running backs got Johan Coleman, Mike Washington. I know you don't do much college. Oh no, Mike Washington was one of the guys that he's my replacement for Blue because you got Shotty likes power, which he has, but he also needs a change of pace back. And if you can get a guy like that in here, he's a change of pace back, but he got power, that the power that Shotty wants. So he gives you what Blue gives you, which is that speed out the backfield and pass catching ability, but he also big as fuck and will run through your face. So yeah, I think he should be a third round guy. If we could trade back and get some extra numbers, like 2 more picks in the second and third round, I think you go get that guy for sure. Watch Coleman's vision. He's not as fast as Washington, but that vision and contact balance is crazy. I'll check him out. You said you thought of Lindell White when you thought of Washington? No, Lindell is a big power back guy. He's just a big smack you in the face guy. I mean, he's heavier than DMC, but very similar build and same upright running style, same school. Also 40 time 4.3. Yeah, exactly. And you know how Jerry loved Arkansas running backs, man. Jerry was hyped to get D-Mac. I've been hearing people say bring Pollard and D-Law back. I don't really see it. Ain't gonna happen. Jay Black from Indiana, I will check out. All right, guys. I was looking for something some film that y'all thought I would have, an NFL player, some question that you might have here, but I don't see nothing that you guys asked me other than Leofold. And we already went over Leofold so much that I'm bored with it. Won't even lie. I don't think Leofold need no more information. But what we're gonna do is I'm gonna finish this film that I'm working on. I gotta cut up all the old film too. And let me see what y'all said. I will fly to Dallas and fight D-Law myself to keep him out of the building. Glad he got a ring. Glad he's gone. Yeah. I think it's time for a new regime. But yeah, let me work on this film and I will, jump on. If not later, I'll jump on tomorrow and do something else with y'all, man. But I appreciate y'all. I've been on here for about 2 hours, so time to go. But make sure I hit the like button. Make sure you share. Make sure you sub. If you haven't hit the membership button, you already see the value we bring in here. Definitely do so. And I appreciate everything. Talk to y'all soon.